Chapter 4053. As for Southern Sky Gate and Nantianba, the former was at the Foundation Establishment Perfection stage and the latter was an unfathomable Gold Core stage expert. If Lin Yi wanted to face such a strong enemy by himself, he had no chance of winning. Even the possibility of retreating was very small because the other side would not give him the chance to secretly prepare a killing move. Lin second, you really made me look for you. Third brother has died for so long, he can finally rest in peace today. Nantianba's body emitted an indescribable killing intent. Even the birds and beasts within 100 feet of him scattered in fright. Southern Sky Gate had a sinister expression as he said, "Be a bit more sensible and hand over the starring stone. I can make the decision to leave your corpse intact, but it doesn't matter if you don't want to say it. At most, I'll spend a bit of energy to use the soul-searching technique. But if I do that, you'll be in trouble. Have you heard of human swine? I'll cut off your arms and legs, dig out your eyes, and cut off your tongue. I'll make you beg for death." Each one was more overbearing than the last. Lin Yi's heart trembled. His brain quickly turned to think of a way to deal with them, but his expression remained unchanged. He curled his lips and said, "So you're saying that I have to die today? Huh, could it be that you're still dreaming of living past today? You even ask such a stupid question, don't you think you're too stupid?" Yuzha laughed wildly. After suppressing his anger for so long under the hands of Nantianba and Southern Sky Gate, he finally found a punching bag. Then, Yuzha turned to Nantianba and Southern Sky Gate and asked, "Martial uncles, although this person is Lin Yi without a doubt, this disciple thinks it's necessary to find out his other identity. If he really is Lin Yi, then we'll be better prepared to face Hong Zhong and the others in the future." Although Kang Mingming had already said that Lin Yi was Lin Yi, it was still necessary to confirm it with his own eyes. Nantianba originally wanted to kill Lin Yi to avenge his third brother, but after thinking about it, he nodded and said, "Fine. As for the whereabouts of the starring stone and his other identity, just use the soul-searching technique on him. There's no need to waste time with him." "All right." The Southern Heavenly Gate immediately agreed. Using the soul-searching art would damage one's divine sense, but compared to the bountiful rewards of the starring stones, this small price was negligible. "Hold on, you don't have to do anything. I can tell you directly that I am Lin Yi," Lin Yi said as he reached out and took off the 1,000 silk mask, revealing his true colors. Nantianba and the other two's eyes became serious. Seeing this, Yuzha was overjoyed. He turned to Nantianba and the Southern Sky Gate and said, "I knew it, this little brat was without a doubt Lin Heir. However, your acting was too good, causing me to be punished by the two martial uncles. Today, I'll make you pay back 100 times over." He recalled his experience at the northernmost island, where Nantianba and the Southern Heaven Gate fought. It was Lin Heir and Lin Yi. To them, this was a double grudge. Just as well, we can settle old and new grudges at the same time. Now that Hong Zhong has gone far away to Middle Island, I want to see who else can save you. Second brother, what are you waiting for? Hurry up and do it. Nantianba clenched his teeth and said. The Southern Sky Gate nodded. He took a step forward and reached out his hand to grab Lin Yi. Even though Lin Yi was an expert at the peak of the middle stage of the Foundation Establishment realm, there was still a huge gap between their cultivation levels. Unless he used a trump card like the Pill Fire True Chi Bomb, his chances of winning against the Southern Sky Gate were slim. However, at this moment, Lin Yi suddenly smiled and said calmly, "Do you really think that since old Hong isn't here, no one can save me?" "What do you mean? Who else can save you? Why don't you tell us? It's not a wise choice to play tricks on us at a time like this. It will only make your death worse." The South Heaven Gate came to a stop and said with a hideous grin. "Trying to be mysterious? Do I look like such a senseless person? Why don't you just say it? The person who can save me is here, and he's right in the middle of you." Lin Yi stared at one person with a burning gaze. It was Yuzha. Being stared at by Lin Yi made Yuzha's hair stand on end. Although he didn't know what the problem was, he had a bad feeling about this. You mean Yuzha? Nan Tianba and the Southern Sky Gate couldn't help but feel suspicious. The way they looked at Yuzha also carried a sense of judgment. Although they were martial nephews, they didn't have much contact with Yuzha before. They only relied on them after the Southern Sky Gate was killed, so they couldn't be considered to know him well. How is that possible? I want to tear him to pieces to avenge my master. How could I save him? Martial uncles, don't fall for this brat's trick. Yuzha hurriedly denied. The Southern Sky Gate reacted quickly and said, Brat, don't look down on us too much. You actually said that Yuzha would save you. Do you think we'll believe you with such a lowly attempt to sow discord? Do you think we're pigs? That's right, even if Yuzha had such thoughts, with his weak strength, wanting to save you in front of my eyes is simply a fool's dream. Nan Tianba also coldly laughed. Martial uncles are wise. This brat still hasn't given up on his evil intentions and wants to sow discord between martial nephews and the two martial uncles. He should be torn to pieces. Yuzha let out a sigh of relief and quickly added insult to injury. Seeing the three people's expressions become more and more unfriendly, Lin Yi remained calm. You've misunderstood. I didn't say Yuzha would directly save me. What I meant was, he will die in my place. What? You want me to die in your place? Is there something wrong with your head? Yuzha was stunned for a moment before laughing out loud. However, the bad feeling in his heart that he couldn't get rid of became even stronger. At the same time, Nan Tianba and the Southern Sky Gate both looked at Lin Yi like he was an idiot. They thought that Lin Yi had been scared to the point of losing his mind and was starting to talk nonsense. Doesn't it sound ridiculous? However, after you watch this, I think you'll change your mind. Lin Yi smiled. He took out his phone and pulled out a video he had taken earlier. What kind of bullshit is this? Nan Tianba and the other two couldn't help but be stunned. No matter how knowledgeable they were, it was impossible for them to have seen the development of smartphones in the mortal world. They immediately looked at each other in dismay. Chapter 40-54. Why was this thing similar to the legendary Xiang chicken? Yuzha, why are you in here? Nan Tianba and Southern Sky Gate asked curiously. I don't know either. Who knows what kind of sorcery this brat is using? Yuzha himself was also at a loss. Looking at the familiar scene in the video, his heart started to beat wildly uncontrollably. Following this, the scene changed. A familiar figure who was on the verge of death appeared, causing Nan Tianba and the South Heaven Gate to open their eyes wide. At this moment, no matter how shocked or slow Yuzha was, he finally reacted. Wasn't this the scene of Nan Tianyong's death? If this continued, wouldn't it be the scene of him killing Nan Tianyong? Yuzha suddenly quivered and finally found the source of the ominous feeling. If Nan Tianba and Southern Sky Gate were to see the scene of him killing his master, even if he had 10,000 lives, it wouldn't be enough to kill him. You still dare to play tricks, I'll kill you right now and avenge my master. In a moment of desperation, Yuzha suddenly yelled and attacked Lin Yi. Even if he couldn't kill Lin Yi in one go, he had to destroy the unknown thing in Lin Yi's hand first. Otherwise, he would live in fear for the rest of his life. However, Yuzha's attack was still a step too late. The scene of him killing Nan Tianyong with his own hands was clearly seen by Nan Tianba and Southern Sky Gate. Bang! Lin Yi raised his leg and kicked Yuzha several meters away. The entire place fell into a dead silence. After a while, Nan Tianba's voice, which was filled with anger, finally reached everyone's ears. Yuzha, did you kill third brother? No. Martial uncle, I'm innocent. This is all an illusion created by Lin Yi. Don't fall into his trap. Yuzha hurriedly defended himself with sweat dripping down his forehead. Nan Tianba and the South Heaven Gate were infuriated. If this was true, then they had been played like fools by Yuzha from the beginning. However, they had never seen a mobile phone before, and this video came from the hands of their enemy, Lin Yi. They had to carefully weigh the credibility of the video. But Lin Yi smiled faintly and said, "Isn't it too late to quibble now? With your eyesight, it should be easy for you to determine whether this video is real or fake. Besides, don't you know the soul-searching technique? Whether it's real or fake, we'll know once we try." At this point, Nan Tianba and Southern Sky Gate were already 70 to 80% convinced. Being able to reach the peak of the Foundation Establishment realm and even the Gold Core realm, there was no need to doubt their shrewdness. Especially when it came to something as important as Nan Tianyong's death, trying to deceive them was easier said than done. Especially Nan Tianba, who had seen much of the world, immediately nodded his head. "This is the Xiang chicken of the secular world? I've heard of these things. I didn't expect you to have them." Seeing the two of them looking at him with unkind eyes, Yuzha's legs immediately went soft. He hysterically continued to quibble, "Martial uncles, don't believe him. How could I do something as disgraceful as killing my master? He's clearly trying to sow discord. If he used the soul-searching technique on me, even if I was wrongly accused, I would still become a cripple." Hearing this, Southern Sky Gate coldly said, "Don't worry. Even if I don't use the soul-searching technique, I can still determine whether it's real or fake. Third brother's corpse is still in the law enforcement hall's ice cellar. As long as I compare the scars on third brother's body, the truth will naturally come to light. If the final result is that you're deceiving me, Yuzha, just wait to be cut into pieces. I will definitely use you as a living sacrifice to third brother's soul in heaven." Nan Tianba's voice seemed to come out from between his teeth. The murderous intent in it made Yuzha tremble in fear. At this moment, Yuzha didn't know how to quibble anymore. He fell to the ground in a daze, his eyes filled with hatred as he stared at Lin Yi. At this moment, Southern Sky Gate suddenly said, "Big brother, even if Yuzha really killed third brother, we can't let Lin Yi go so easily. We still haven't taken revenge for what happened in the extreme North Island. Furthermore, he still has the star ink stone that I want." To Southern Sky Gate, including third brother Nan Tianyong's death, everything else was just fleeting clouds. Only the star ink stone was his target. "That's fine, then we'll take this brat away as well. It won't be too late to kill him after we've figured everything out." Nan Tianba's only thought now was to find out who killed third brother. Seeing that Southern Sky Gate was about to make another move, Lin Yi immediately said, "Catch me? Have you thought about the consequences of this? Miss Shangguan also knows that I'm here. If you don't catch the murderer and make a move on me, think about the consequences yourself." "Oh, that's right, Pavilion Master Shangguan personally promised me that I can look for him if I need anything. As disciples of the Soaring Sky Pavilion, don't you need to ask him for instructions?" Hearing this, the eyelids of Nan Tianba and the Southern Heaven Gate twitched. Shangguan Lan'er was nothing much, as she was just a young mistress with no real strength. However, Shangguan Tianhua was someone who could easily crush them to death with a single finger. If what Lin Yi said was true and they took Lin Yi away now, it was equivalent to publicly slapping Shanghai Tianhua in the face. The consequences would be unimaginable. Although Southern Sky Gate didn't want to believe these words, he remembered that Lin Yi was invited to Shanghai Laner's birthday banquet as a newcomer. Especially after the recent kidnapping incident, there were rumors that Shanghai Tianhua treated Lin Yi differently. This meant that these words were not fabricated. This risk was not something that Southern Sky Gate could take, nor could Nan Tianba. After hesitating for a moment, Nan Tianba clenched his teeth and coldly snorted, "Humph, I'll let you go for now. Let's go." After saying this, Nan Tianba grabbed the dejected Yuzha with one hand and jumped onto the flying spiritual beast. Southern Sky Gate looked at Lin Yi unwillingly, but in the end, he didn't dare to make a move and bitterly followed. Seeing Nan Tianba and the other two fly away, Lin Yi finally let out a sigh of relief. Facing a Golden Core stage and a Foundation Establishment stage expert alone, even though they didn't really fight, the pressure was not something an ordinary person could handle. He'd probably be a corpse right now if he'd said anything wrong in that conversation. It was fortunate that he'd been smart enough to take a video of Yuzha killing his own Shifu, otherwise he'd be dead for sure. Chapter 40-55. Who are you? The king of tattered rags was shocked to see an unfamiliar face. Don't be nervous, it's me. I've always been wearing a mask. This is my true appearance. I'm really sorry for hiding it from you. Lin Yi explained. Hey, it's you, Brother Lin. It's okay, it's okay. I can also make a mask that can change one's appearance. It's understandable that you have to keep a trick up your sleeve. The tattered king smiled. Lin Yi nodded and asked with concern, I've already taken care of the trouble outside. It didn't affect your forging, right? No, it's still the warm-up phase of forging. Although we can't stop halfway, at least for the next few days, we just have to wait patiently on the side. There's nothing to do for now. The tattered king said. That's good. I'm afraid that these people will ruin our plans. Lin Yi sighed in relief. He didn't stay idle after that. He sat on the side and discussed the subsequent forging matters with the tattered king. This time, other than forging weapons for himself, he had another task, which was to observe and learn. No matter what, he was still a blacksmith. He should have some improvement in this aspect. Otherwise, he couldn't come back to the tattered king for help every time he had a need for forging weapons in the future. At the same time, Yuzha, who was brought back by Nan Tianba, wasn't in a good mood. The three of them went to the law enforcement hall to examine the corpse and quickly came to a conclusion. Third brother Nan Tianyong was indeed killed by Yuzha. Because of the appearance, Nan Tianyong didn't examine it carefully. Now that he saw it, he knew that he was tricked by Yuzha. The evidence was conclusive. This time, Yuzha was completely unable to explain himself. The last trace of hope in his heart was also annihilated. This time, he was completely disheartened. You treacherous scum. How could third brother have a disciple like you? He must have been blind. I will cut you into 1,000 pieces tomorrow. I will be a living sacrifice for third brother's soul in heaven. Nan Tianba was so angry that his eyes almost popped out of their sockets. No matter who killed Nan Tianyong, he could accept it. However, it was Nan Tianyong's disciple who killed him. This was too intolerable. They wouldn't even be able to die in peace. Especially since he and the Southern Sky Gate had been tricked by a nobody like Yuzha for so long. Now that he thought about it, he couldn't help but feel embarrassed. How embarrassing. A traitorous disciple killing his own master, no matter what era it was. It would be a huge scandal no matter where it was. Although Nan Tianba and the South Heaven Gate did not want anyone to know about it, there was no such thing as an airtight wall in this world. The moment they had conducted the autopsy, the news had already spread. In less than half a day, the news of Yuzha killing his master had already spread throughout the three great pavilions. In the streets and alleys, almost everyone was talking about this matter. First, Su Lingchong attempted to rape her and escaped, followed by the Shangguan Laner kidnapping incident. Now, the huge scandal of Yuzha murdering his teacher had been exposed. The three great pavilions, or more accurately, the Soaring Sky Pavilion, had been hit by one wave after another. However, even if everyone knew about it, it did not change Nan Tianba's determination to kill Yuzha. This was his family's matter, even if it was the three great pavilions and the law enforcement hall. They had no right to interfere. Furthermore, it had already been known by others. Nan Tianba decided to no longer hide it. He publicly opened a sacrificial altar on the Soaring Sky Pavilion's plaza and, in front of countless people, sacrificed Yuzha to his third brother, Nan Tianyong. To Nan Tianba, although doing this might attract criticism, it was the best way to wash away the shame that Yuzha had brought to his family. The news spread like wildfire. By noon the next day, the Soaring Sky Pavilion's plaza was already filled with hundreds and thousands of people. Not only were there disciples from the Soaring Sky Pavilion, disciples from the other two pavilions also came to watch the show. However, under the watchful eyes of the crowd, Nan Tianba, and the Southern Sky Gate brothers suddenly stood everyone up. There was no other way, Yuzha had disappeared. Looking at the empty basement, Nan Tianba's domineering aura caused the three-corpse god to explode. However, at the same time, even he himself felt that it was unimaginable. From yesterday until now, he had not taken even half a step out of the room above. In this completely sealed basement, the only exit was right under his feet. It was surrounded by a tight defensive array, so it was impossible to escape from any other place. However, such an impossible thing had happened right in front of his eyes. Yuzha, who was supposed to close his eyes and wait for his death, had disappeared from the face of the earth without any warning. If it wasn't for the fact that he knew his big brother's temperament, Southern Sky Gate would have suspected that his big brother's heart had softened and secretly released Yuzha. However, this was impossible. Regarding the death of his third brother, Nan Tianyong, Nan Tianba could only let Yuzha suffer a few more cuts and die a more miserable death. He definitely could not let him live. After a long time, Nan Tianba faintly said, "It seems like an expert saved him." What? Southern Sky Gate was shocked. "Big brother, you personally guarded this place. Who could hide from your eyes and ears and save Yuzha from the basement? That's not possible, right? I also don't think it's possible, but there is always someone better than you out there. The truth is right here, what else can you say?" Nan Tianba helplessly said. This time, Southern Sky Gate was also speechless. In his eyes, Nan Tianba was a gold core expert and was extremely strong. However, in the three great pavilions, there were still many people who were stronger than Nan Tianba. What the two of them couldn't understand was that in these past few months, Yuzha had always been trying to please them. When did he manage to hook up with such a strong person? Yuzha's disappearance immediately caused a huge uproar. Not only did it cause Nan Tianba and the Southern Sky Gate brothers to lose face, it was also the second case of someone escaping and disappearing after Su Lingchong. The time between the two cases was less than a month. In the secret underground room, Yuzha slowly opened his eyes. Borrowing the dim light to look around, he suddenly trembled and begged, "Martial uncle, I beg you to spare my little life. It was Disciple's fault that I had evil thoughts. Disciple deserves to die. Disciple is worse than a dog, but Disciple is still useful to you. As long as you spare Disciple this time, in this life, no, in the next life, the life after that, I will work like a horse for you." Halfway through his words, he was suddenly interrupted by a black-cloaked figure in the shadows. "Save it, I'm not Nan Tianba. You don't need to be afraid, I won't kill you, and I won't hand you over to Nan Tianba." Chapter 40-56. Now that he had woken up, Yuzha instinctively thought that he was still in that secret room. He had never thought that he had already been moved without anyone noticing. Even though it was still an underground secret room, it was no longer the same room he had been in before. "Then, who are you? Why did you bring me here?" Yuzha rejoiced in his heart but immediately became vigilant again. Could it be that he had just left the wolf's den and entered the tiger's den? The dark and gloomy secret room in front of him was even more indestructible than Nan Tianba's, and there was nowhere to escape to. If this mysterious person really wanted to save him, why would he bring him to this kind of place? "You're quite vigilant. It seems that I didn't save you for nothing." The mysterious man paused for a moment and suddenly smiled meaningfully. "To be honest, I admire you very much. It's rare to see a person who can kill his own master with his own hands. In terms of temperament, you meet my requirements very well." "What do you mean?" Yuzha became more cautious. He inconspicuously moved backwards, trying to stay as far away from this mysterious person as possible. He had indeed killed Nan Tianyong with his own hands, but he still felt very guilty about this matter. Normally, he did not dare and did not want to take the initiative to think about this matter. However, from the mysterious person's attitude, this person seemed to admire him very much. Wasn't he a pervert? Seeing Yuzha's cautious expression, the mysterious person did not mind and lightly said, "It's nothing. I only saved you because I admire you." Otherwise, you would have been cut into pieces by Nan Tianba in front of everyone. However, don't think about running away now that you're here. That's not realistic. Also, I believe that you're not stupid enough to go out and seek death. After saying this, the mysterious person's killing intent almost materialized for a moment. Even if it was only for a short moment, the shock it gave Yu Zhe was unforgettable. This mysterious person in front of him. He was not an existence that Nan Tianba could fight against. Yu Zhe took a deep breath and finally recognized his current situation. His previous thoughts were not wrong. He had indeed just left the wolf's den and had immediately fallen into an even more dangerous tiger's den. What does your excellency want me to do? Yu Zhe stared at the figure in the darkness and asked. The mysterious person did not speak and threw something over. It landed in front of Yu Zhe and made a clanking sound. Yu Zhe was shocked. He thought that it was a hidden weapon that could kill someone, but in the next moment, his eyes suddenly widened as he stared at the stone in front of him, unable to move his eyes away. After a long time, Yu Zhe swallowed a few times, his face filled with disbelief as he stammered, This is Star Ink Stone? Your eyesight isn't bad. There's no mistaking it. This is Staring Stone. However, half of it has already been used up. The mysterious man nodded calmly. Used half? Yu Zhe couldn't help but stare blankly when he heard this. He observed carefully under the dim light. Only then did he discover that this piece of star ink stone was not the one he had seen at the Hong merchant house. Not only was its shape different, its color and foundation were clearly weaker. Even so, this was a treasure that Yu Zhe dreamed of. The star ink stone could allow one to perfectly break through to the most powerful golden core stage, and even if one used half of the star ink stone, the supplementary effects wouldn't be too bad. Seeing Yu Zhe's greedy expression, as if he wanted nothing more than to swallow the star ink stone into his stomach, the mysterious person laughed. Not only will you be able to keep your life, but this half of the staring stone will also be yours. How about it? This. Although Yu Zhe's mind was already clouded by the star ink stone, he hadn't completely lost his reason. Hearing this, he immediately hesitated and struggled. Don't worry, I won't let you suffer a loss. This piece of star ink stone is only an advance payment to you, that's all. The mysterious person paused, and then his tone changed. Of course, if you don't agree, that's fine. I won't kill you. I will only return the item to its rightful owner and send you back to the hands of Nan Tianba. Yu Zhe quivered and remembered that with his current situation, he didn't dare to go out. Without the protection of this mysterious person, his fate would be death by 1,000 cuts. Thinking of this, Yu Zhe didn't hesitate any longer. He gritted his teeth and said, Fine, I agree. Then what do you want me to do now? The mysterious person wasn't surprised at this and said calmly, There's nothing I want you to do right now. You just need to focus on cultivating here and quickly increase your strength. When I need you, I will naturally notify you. I understand. No matter what, many thanks for your kindness in saving my life. In the future, if you have any orders, I will definitely go through fire and water and offer my life to you. Yu Zhe immediately swore and flattered. Unexpectedly, the mysterious person said mockingly, You don't need to do this with me. You're someone who can even kill his own master without blinking. Do you think I will believe your cheap oath? Remember, never play tricks in front of me. If this happens again, I will make you regret not dying at the hands of Nan Tianba. After saying this, the mysterious person's figure flickered and disappeared right in front of Yu Zhe's eyes. It was a simple sentence, but the feeling of being seen through was even more frightening to Yu Zhe than the physical killing intent from before. He was filled with lingering fear. However, Yu Zhe's attention quickly shifted back to the star ink stone. All sorts of experiences had made him deeply understand that only when one's own strength was powerful, everything else was fleeting. This star ink stone was a cheat that could allow him to ascend the path of the strong. Yu Zhe's disappearance had caused a huge uproar in the 3 great pavilions. However, Lin Yi knew nothing about it. During this period of time, he had stayed with the tattered king and focused on his great business of forging. 7 days had passed since Kang Mingming and Nan Tianba had come looking for trouble. As early as 3 days ago, the most basic warm-up stage had already ended. Now, it was time for the most crucial part of forging. The more powerful the divine weapon, the higher the requirements for the forging master. There couldn't be the slightest mistake during the forging process. Even if there was a slight deviation of half a centimeter, the final result might be completely different from what one had expected. Extremely rare materials such as the 10,000-year tree crystal and the ancient pure soil would also be burnt to ashes. From then on, they would become a pile of waste, which made one sigh with regret. Not only was Lin Yi unwilling to see such a tragic result, but the tattered king, who regarded forging as his life, was even more unwilling to see it. For the past few months, the tattered king had spent a lot of effort on forging. Even compared to Lin Yi, who had provided many extremely rare materials, the amount he had spent was no less. Chapter 4057. Since the beginning of the forging process, the king of Junk had been extremely tense. He was personally in charge of every step of the process and could not afford to make any mistakes. Lin Yi, on the other hand, wasn't idling around. It was a rare opportunity to observe the entire process from such a close distance, and in just a short 7 days, he'd already learned quite a bit from the king of garbage's teachings. In these 7 days, there were no deviations in the crafting process. Everything was going according to the script that the king of Junk had planned beforehand. The anxiety in his heart slowly faded away, and he started to feel more at ease. He was glad that he hadn't found the wrong person. Everything was difficult at the beginning. Since they had passed the most important beginning stage, the forging process was already half a success. Lin Yi thought that everything would go smoothly. However, on the 8th day, everything came to an abrupt end. That's it? Looking at the gradually calming casting pool, Lin Yi was dumbfounded. This was completely different from the plan that the king of Junk had told him about. At this moment, even the king of Junk himself was going crazy. Although he could not accurately predict how long the forging process would take, it was only the 8th day. According to the experience of many blacksmiths, the more powerful a divine weapon was, the longer the forging process would take. As long as a divine weapon was of a slightly higher grade, it was normal for it to take several months or even several years. But this time, the forging process had used extremely rare materials like the 10,000-year-old tree crystal and the ancient sacred soil. No matter what, it couldn't be weaker than other weapons, right? However, it was an indisputable fact that the casting pool had calmed down. Normally, such a situation would only occur when the final weapon was formed. However, it was only the 8th day. Looking at the lump in the forging pool, even a ghost wouldn't believe that it was a fully formed godly weapon. What should we do now? Lin Yi's mouth twitched. He turned to look at the king of Junk. This thing. Should I use it to smash people? Impossible. 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 The tattered king hammered his head as he paced back and forth around the forging pool, mumbling to himself. Lin Yi couldn't help but worry that the guy might just fall into the foundry when he saw how crazy he was. That would really kill him. Lin Yi, on the other hand, found it inconceivable as well. The whole plan was thought up by the king of garbage alone, but he'd analyzed and discussed it with Lin Yi in detail during the process to ensure the success rate of the forging. He'd done a lot of preparation beforehand. Lin Yi had specially gone to the far north island to bid for those high-level casting materials. There was only one ultimate use for it, and that was to ensure the stability and success rate of the crafting process. This was one of the reasons why the crappy king asked Lin Yi to take out a couple of sky-class weapons he didn't use and put them into the crafting process. Who would have thought that even after making such thorough preparations, it would still end up like this? This? Lin Huang asked. This. The king of the tatters. We failed. At this moment, the king of Junk squatted down. He stuck his face to the edge of the casting pool, which really shocked Lin Yi. Is this guy really going to take things too hard? Although the casting pool has calmed down, the temperature is still shockingly high. However, the temperature was frighteningly high. Even a foundation establishment expert would not be able to endure it. Just when Lin Yi was about to stop him, the king of junk's eyes suddenly lit up. No, I know the reason. We haven't failed yet. Haven't failed yet? Lin Yi was stunned. Yes. We haven't failed yet. To be precise, we haven't completely failed yet. The king of junk instantly became 100 times more energetic. Pointing at the casting pool, he explained to Lin Yi, "You'll know if you look closely. This pool has not completely cooled down, and the god weapon has not been completely shaped. It seems that if we don't find a way to solve the problem, it will remain in this lukewarm state. We still have a way to fix it." Hearing this, Lin Yi could not help but feel refreshed. After observing for a while, he confirmed that the god weapon was still changing at a speed that was hard to be seen by the naked eye. He immediately asked, "What problem should we solve?" "Solve the conflict between the attributes of the 10,000-year tree crystal and the ancient Pure Land." The king of junk said with certainty, "Brother Lin, I've told you before that the most basic requirement for casting is that the attributes of all the casting materials must be compatible. Even if they are incompatible, we must find a way to neutralize them with other auxiliary materials. This is the problem we're facing now." "How could it be?" "The 10,000-year tree crystal is of the wood attribute, and the ancient Pure Land is of the earth attribute. How could there be a conflict between the two?" Lin Yi asked curiously. It was common sense that wood and earth were mutually reinforcing. The king of junk shook his head and said, "You're wrong. These two materials are too rare. It's difficult to understand their specific origins, so we've all made a mistake on this most basic question. The 10,000-year tree crystal is of the wood attribute, but the ancient Pure Land is not of the pure earth attribute. If it's not of the earth attribute, then what is it?" Lin Yi was puzzled. Even if he did not understand its origin, how could the standard soil of the ancient Pure Land be of any other attribute? "I've read about the ancient Pure Land in my master's notes. Although its attributes were not clearly mentioned, it was mentioned that the ancient Pure Land usually only appears in the craters of ancient volcanoes." The king of junk said excitedly, "Now you understand. Although the ancient Pure Land has the earth attribute, it also has the fire attribute. Therefore, to a certain extent, there is a conflict between the attributes of the 10,000-year tree crystal and the wood attribute of the 10,000-year tree crystal." Only then did Lin Yi understand. He nodded and said, "No wonder such a strange situation occurred. Under normal circumstances, if it was a simple conflict of attributes, it would have completely failed by now. It turns out that the ancient Pure Land's earth and fire attributes are both conflicting and compatible with the wood attribute of the 10,000-year tree crystal." "That's right. Fortunately, my mistake wasn't too fatal. Otherwise, I wouldn't even have a chance to remedy it, and I would be even more ashamed to face you, Brother Lin," the king of junk said awkwardly. Chapter 4058. Don't worry, Brother Lin. Since we found the root of the problem, I'm confident that I can succeed as long as we can solve the problem of the attribute conflict," the king of junk promised. "That's great, but how are we going to solve this problem now?" Lin Yi asked. The process of forging could not be stopped halfway, and with the current situation, the lump inside could not even be considered a semi-finished product. It was even more impossible to take it out now. If everything goes as expected, the forging pool will continue to be in this state. However, to be on the safe side, it's better for me to stay here and keep an eye on it. Therefore, I can only trouble Brother Lin to find some materials to make up for it, so that we can continue forging, the king of junk said as he took out a pen and paper, then listed a list of materials and passed it to Lin Yi. Lin Yi took a glance and asked, "Are these materials common?" "Most of them are common, so we should be able to buy them directly. However, there are two that we'll have to try our luck. Fortunately, we're not in a rush, and I'll find a way to control it. Even if it takes longer, it won't be a problem. Being slow is also a stage of forging, so taking longer might not be a bad thing," the king of junk analyzed. Alright, I'll think of a way to make up for the materials. I'll leave it to you, Brother Wang. Lin Yi immediately set off. Hong Merchant Guild. After Hong Zhongyuan went to Middle Island to take up his post, it was now Si Haixiao's territory. At this moment, there were two familiar faces in the private room. They were Nan Tianba and Nan Tianmen. Shopkeeper Si, we have a presumptuous request. We hope you can help us find someone. Nan Tianmen and Nan Tianba looked at each other and pleaded. Oh. Who? Could it be about Lin Er? There's no news yet, but I've already sent people to investigate. Si Haixiao casually answered as he drank the high-quality spiritual tea. Actually, we already know Lin Er's true identity and his whereabouts. This guy is the Lin Yi I mentioned to you before. However, we're looking for someone else. You've met him once before. He's my unworthy martial nephew, Yu Zhe. The Southern Heavenly Gate said awkwardly. He and Nan Tianba had already searched everywhere they could, but they still couldn't find any trace of Yu Zhe. They had no choice but to run over to ask Si Haixiao for help. After all, Si Haixiao was a supervisor. Letting him borrow the eyes and ears of the Honging group to find out Yu Zhe's whereabouts was much better than relying on the two of them to run around blindly. Ask about Yu Zhe? Don't you know the whereabouts of your own martial nephew? Si Haixiao was taken aback. Since we already know that Lin Yi is Lin Yi II, we should think of a way to deal with Lin Yi first. Why bother looking for Yu Zhe? Sigh, shopkeeper Si, there's something you don't know. We only learned recently that the culprit that killed third brother wasn't Lin Yi, but Yu Zhe's rebellious disciple. The South Heaven Gate briefly explained the recent events to Si Haixiao. Such a complicated inside story made Si Haixiao click his tongue in wonder. Yu Zhe killing his teacher. Although it had caused a lot of commotion recently, it was mainly focused on the three great pavilions. It didn't spread much in the marketplace. Furthermore, he had been busy reorganizing the Hong Chamber of Commerce recently. In order to erase the traces left behind by Hong Zhong's many years of business, he had no time to care about this kind of gossip. I didn't think that this kid would actually be a traitor despite looking so much like a dog. Fine. This shopkeeper will send a message to the old partner of the Honging group who is in charge of the North Island and let him investigate for you. Since the matter has become so big, the eyes and ears in the North Island should take the initiative to pay attention to Yu Zhe's whereabouts. After Si Haixiao said this, he immediately wrote a note and had someone send a letter with a bird. Since they were both in the North Island, the news spread very quickly. In just the time it took to drink a cup of tea, Si Haixiao received a reply. Unfortunately, the other party's reply was that they didn't receive any news regarding Yu Zhe's whereabouts. Nan Tianba and Southern Sky Gate were both extremely depressed. Now that the missing Yu Zhe had become the two brothers' laughingstock, if they let him go on like this, the prestige they had established in the Soaring Sky Pavilion would probably be completely gone. Seeing the two of them like this, Si Haixiao comforted them. Actually, you don't need to be too discouraged. That kid Yu Zhe can hide for a while, but can he hide forever? The Honging group has so many eyes and ears in the North Island. As long as he appears, don't worry about not being able to find him. This is all just a matter of time. Also, isn't that Lin Yi ready-made? Although Yu Zhe killed Nan Tianyong, there's still a problem with him. Nan Tianba and Southern Sky Gate both nodded. We also know that Lin Yi isn't a good person. When he pretended to be second Lin and took away the star ink stone, it was actually because he had bad intentions. Everything started because of him. Otherwise, third brother wouldn't have ended up being killed by his own disciple. That's right, so this shopkeeper is prepared to help you deal with him. Si Haixiao suddenly said. Huh. The two of them couldn't help but look at each other in surprise. Although Si Haixiao had previously agreed to help find second Lin, the perfunctory meaning behind it could be seen even if they were blind. Why did he suddenly take the initiative now? Don't be so surprised. These 2 days, your uncle, Nan Tian Polaris, just happened to send this shopkeeper a letter. He asked this shopkeeper to help him teach a lesson to an enemy. He made this enemy when he went to the secular world to be a guide. Guess who it is? Si Haishao said with a playful expression. It can't be Lin Yi, right? The two of them instantly looked at each other. That's right, it's this Lin Yi. Speaking of which, this kid is really at odds with your family. In the secular world, he went against your uncle, and now he's going against the two of you. It's really rare to see a newcomer who dares to provoke others like this. Si Haishao laughed. Nan Tianba and Southern Sky Gate both had an expression as if they had seen a ghost. They immediately reacted and said, since there's a grudge against uncle, then we can't let this kid go. Let's do as shopkeeper Si says and deal with Lin Yi first. Si Haishao nodded and said, now that Hong Zhong has gone to the Middle Island, distant water can't put out a nearby fire. Moreover, it's said that he's also in trouble, so it's easy for us to deal with Lin Yi. However, we still need to plan this matter first and find a good opportunity. It's best if Lin Yi takes the initiative to come to us. Otherwise, as the shopkeeper of the northern island of the Hong Merchant Guild, it wouldn't be good for me to go to the welcoming pavilion to find him. Yes, shopkeeper Si has thought things through. Southern Sky Gate agreed. Chapter 4059. Nan Tianba and Southern Sky Gate looked at each other and couldn't help but laugh. Haha, the North Island is like this. There are no female cultivators here, so it can't be compared to the Middle Island. However, if shopkeeper Si wants to play, we brothers know a good place. Oh. Since I don't have anything to do, why don't we go and relax together? Si Haishao immediately became interested and suggested. That's great. Shopkeeper Si, as the host, we haven't had a chance to welcome you. This time, we can be the host and treat you as a welcome. The two nodded. For them, Si Haishao was a good backer and they needed to find a way to curry favor with him. Since Si Haishao was interested, it couldn't be any better. They only needed to spend some spiritual jades to get closer to such a person. This was something they couldn't ask for more. After coming to the North Island, Si Haishao had been busy eliminating the influence left by the previous Hong Zhong. After holding it in for so long, it was hard for him to restrain his desire. The three of them hit it off and immediately went out together. Although there weren't many female cultivators on the North Island, the place Nan Tianba and Southern Sky Gate brought Si Haishao to was the largest cultivator village around the three pavilions. The people here were all ordinary people. It was similar to the secular world, with restaurants, brothels, casinos, and other places of entertainment. Cultivators were humans too, with 7 emotions and 6 desires. Apart from cultivating, they still had various needs. When they needed to indulge themselves, they would often come to the cultivator village. Nan Tianba and the South Heaven Gate brothers had long been a frequent visitor here. There was only one common currency in the 5 great heavenly islands, and that was the spiritual jade. Since this was only a village where ordinary people lived, even the best brothel would not be able to afford such a small amount of money to the high and mighty cultivators. With just a few spiritual jades, one could easily play with the most beautiful and skilled female cultivators. Although they were just ordinary women and not superior female cultivators, if the quality wasn't good enough, quantity could make up for it. It was enough for Si Haishao to have fun. While Si Haishao and Nan Tianba were enjoying themselves in the cultivator village, Shanghai Laner, who was now grounded at home by Shanghai Tianhua, finally saw her best friend, Ning Shuefei, who came all the way from West Island. It was rare for the two girls to run into each other. Both of them cheered excitedly, adding a bit of liveliness to the usually tranquil Hualan house. They were also best friends who could talk about anything. Ning Shuefei and Han Jingjing were like-minded because of their similar hobbies, while she and Shangguan Laner were similar because of their similar personalities. Almost everything was a common topic between them. Come on, little Laner, quickly tell me about the rape. Oh, and about your kidnapping. You didn't explain it clearly in the letter. Ning Shuefei's eyes lit up with excitement. Even though Shangguan Laner was heartless. When he heard this, his face darkened, and he said speechlessly, Fei, you came all the way here just to ask about this? Aren't you here to comfort me? Sob, I'm so sad. Of course I'm here to comfort you, little Lon, But it's such a fun thing. As a best friend, don't you want to share it with me? I'm also concerned about you. Ning Shuefei rolled her eyes and quibbled. All right. You always use the excuse of comforting people to rub salt into my wounds. I'm really defeated by you. Shangguan Laner could only surrender helplessly. Although Shangguan Laner deliberately pretended to be depressed, she could no longer hold back her smile after a while. She laughed and played together with Ning Shuefei. Being pestered by Ning Shuefei, Shangguan Laner told her everything that had happened recently in detail. Ning Shuefei was amazed. Shangguan Laner didn't say it in detail in the letter before. Especially when they heard that Little White took a giant scissors and wiped off Su Lingchong's penis, the two girls laughed back and forth, gave a thumbs up, and praised Little Curly Bear for being wise and capable. In the two things that Shangguan Laner had experienced recently, whether it was Su Lingchong's attempted rape or being kidnapped a few days ago, the protagonist was the same person, Lin Yi, in addition to herself. Why does the name Lin Yi sound so familiar? After hearing this, Ning Shuefei couldn't help scratching her head. After thinking hard for a long time, she suddenly patted her head and said, By the way, I've heard this name long ago when I was in West Island. Really? Shangguan Laner couldn't help but be stunned. Although she liked her junior brother very much, Lin Yi was just a newcomer after all. If he was a little famous in the 3 pavilions of the North Island, it was reasonable, but even Ning Shuefei, who was far away in West Island, had heard of him. This was impossible, right? It's true. I told you in the letter before that I have a good friend from the secular world. Her name is Han Jingjing. She often talks about Lin Yi to me, but whether this Lin Yi is the same person as the Lin Yi you mentioned, I don't know. Ning Shuefei tilted her head and said, Hey. I remember that junior brother is also from the secular world. Is the Lin Yi he mentioned to your friend really the same person? Shangguan Laner thought about it and suddenly felt that it was very possible. She immediately suggested with great interest, Why don't we go to ask junior brother now? Little Lon, aren't you grounded by your grandfather now? How can you go out? Ning Shuefei said with a smile. If I am alone, Grandpa will definitely not let me go out. But now you are here, Fei. As the host, I will take you out to play. He will definitely agree. Shangguan Laner said with confidence. She was bored at home these days and wanted to take the opportunity to sneak out to play. Okay, but before looking for Lin Yi, I want to go to the Hong's Chamber of Commerce first, Ning Shuefei said. Why do you want to go to the Hong's Chamber of Commerce? To buy something? Didn't you just go to the auction in the far North Island recently? Shangguan Laner asked curiously. No, I'm going to the Hong's Chamber of Commerce to find a young man. Ning Shuefei's mouth curved slightly, like a kitten. Looking for a young man? Shangguan Laner was even more puzzled. She looked at Ning Shuefei up and down and asked curiously, Fei, which young man are you looking for? Why are you looking for him? I won't tell you now. I will tell you when I find him. Ning Shuefei said mysteriously, You will know when the time comes. He has a lot of good things in his hands. Chapter 4060. Just as she had said, although Shangguan Tianhua had grounded her, he couldn't possibly ground Ning Shuefei, who had come all the way from afar, as well. After hearing their words, she immediately nodded in agreement. Although there had been a kidnapping incident not long ago, this was still the territory of the 3 pavilions in the North Island. As long as precautions were taken, there was no need to worry about their personal safety. The two immediately went out with the little curly bear and went straight to the Hong's Chamber of Commerce in the inner street of the marketplace. Today happened to be the opening day of the inner street. They didn't even need to reveal their identities and directly walked into the gate of the Hong's Chamber of Commerce along with the crowd. On the North Island, female cultivators were extremely rare, especially the two women who were rare beauties. Even if they were mixed in the noisy crowd, no matter where they went, they would naturally become the focus of the audience. As soon as the two of them walked into the Hong Chamber of Commerce, a sharp-eyed shop assistant abandoned the other customers and welcomed them with a face full of joy. "Ladies, what treasures are you looking to buy? Do you want me to show you around the shop?" "No, I'm looking for a little shop assistant of your Hong's Chamber of Commerce," Ning Shuefei said impatiently. "Little shop assistant? I'm a little shop assistant, right? What can I do for you, miss?" The shop assistant was slightly stunned, and then quickly smiled attentively. Such a beautiful woman came to find him. Was he going to have good luck with women today? Secretly pinching Laner, who was snickering, Ning Shuefei rolled her eyes speechlessly and curled her lips. "I'm not looking for you, I'm looking for another little shop assistant." As they spoke, Ning Shuefei and Laner, who were already the center of attention, became the focus of the audience. Everyone present couldn't help but look at each other. Two drooling beauties were looking for a little shop assistant. What was going on? Was this what people said, fresh flowers are destined to be inserted in cow dung? Looking for a little shop assistant? Si Haixiao had just come back at this moment, although he was already drunk. But his strength meant that no matter how drunk he was, he wouldn't fall down directly. Hearing the sweet female voice coming from the crowd downstairs, he immediately poked his head out of the private room on the second floor in a trance. After seeing Ning Shuefei and Laner, Si Haixiao's eyes instantly widened. What the fuck? These two girls were simply the best. Although Nan Tianba and the Southern Heaven Gate brothers had accompanied him to the brothel, they were only ordinary women after all. They could not be compared to the female cultivators on the Middle Island. They were on a completely different level, so Si Haixiao was not able to enjoy himself to the fullest. However, he did not expect that the moment he returned to the Hong Chamber of Commerce. Si Haixiao's appetite was immediately aroused when he found these two exquisite girls that were rarely seen in Nakajima. He looked at the two girls lecherously while pinching his chin and muttering, "You're looking for a young man." Why did he look for a young waiter? Could it be that these two women are the mistresses of some young waiter? At this moment, Si Haixiao was both drunk and lustful. As he thought about it in a daze, he immediately felt that it was highly possible. He had been busy dealing with the internal affairs of the three great pavilions during this period of time and hadn't officially walked around the three great pavilions. It was not surprising that he did not know Shangguan Laner. As far as he knew, there were no female cultivators on the North Island, so he ruled out the possibility that the two women were cultivators of the three pavilions. Since these two girls were looking for some bullshit young waiter, then they were definitely mistresses. Damn it, just which fellow was it that was so lucky to get such a stunning and exquisite chick? What a waste of God's gifts. Even a manager like me doesn't have such luck with women. Thinking of this, Si Haixiao could not help but feel lustful. These two women were definitely ordinary women who had not seen much of the world. Since they were interested in a mere young waiter, then wouldn't it just be a matter of a word for him to get them into bed? Wahahaha, God wants me to enjoy my luck with women. I really can't stop it. Si Haixiao immediately forced himself to calm down and couldn't wait to get up and walk downstairs. At the same time, he was still imagining the wonderful scene of two stunning beauties serving him together in his mind. That feeling was simply killing him. Just then, Lin Yi suddenly appeared in the crowd at the door. Lin Yi came here to buy the supplementary materials that the king of junk had told him before. Although Hong Zhong was no longer here, these were basically things that could be bought normally, not precious treasures like the star-ring stone that could only be found by chance. Therefore, he thought that Si Haixiao would not make things difficult for him for such a small matter. Of course, if Si Haixiao really did this, Lin Yi could also go to other places to buy them, such as asking Chen Heihu for help. However, Chen Heihu's business was not as big as that of the Hong's Chamber of Commerce. Even if he was willing to help, many materials were not in stock, and he had to find someone to buy them temporarily, which was a little troublesome. As soon as he entered the door, Lin Yi noticed the two women, Ning Xuefei and Shengguan Laner, who had become the focus of the crowd. The sharp-eyed little curly bear also found Lin Yi at once, and directly jumped over everyone's head and jumped onto Lin Yi's shoulder. "Little buddy, you are here. I was just looking for you." Ning Xuefei's eyes suddenly lit up, and she squeezed over with Shanghai Laner. Shanghai Laner had a strange expression. She pointed at Ning Xuefei and then pointed at Lin Yi. "Quack. He is the little buddy you are looking for. How could it be so coincidental? What's wrong?" Ning Xuefei looked at Shanghai Laner with a puzzled look. Shanghai Laner was stunned for a moment, and then said incredulously, "Your little buddy is actually my little junior brother Lin Yi that I told you about." "Are you serious? How could this be?" Ning Xuefei was taken aback when she heard the words. Lin Yi looked at Ning Xuefei, and he was also very surprised. How did she come here? She even knows Shanghai Laner? Besides being surprised, he couldn't help but secretly wonder. How could this world be so small? I can even encounter such a thing. However, noticing the strange gazes of other people, Lin Yi suddenly realized that there were too many people in this place. It was better to ask the two women to go out and change to a quieter place to talk. However, before waiting for Lin Yi to speak, Si Haishao had already forced the crowd and squeezed over with the smell of alcohol. Si Haishao was originally obsessed with lust. Now that he saw the sudden appearance of Lin Yi, he was even more excited. Although he hadn't met Lin Yi before, he had seen Lin Yi's portrait, and the words of Shanghai Laner had also confirmed Lin Yi's identity for him. Previously, he was still thinking about how to find a way to trick Lin Yi out. He didn't expect that in the blink of an eye, Lin Yi actually took the initiative to come to him. Chapter 4061. How could this brat, Lin Yi, be able to obtain these two exquisite beauties? Today, whether it was for official or personal reasons, Si Haishao felt that he had to make Lin Yi kneel. Lin Yi, as a newcomer to the welcoming pavilion, you actually disobeyed the rules. You actually dared to bring two brothel girls out in broad daylight and swaggered around in front of my Hong Merchant Guild. Where do you think the image of the three great pavilions is? Si Haishao reprimanded him with a righteous expression. Unfortunately, his pair of perverted eyes that occasionally glanced at the two girls betrayed his true nature. Previously, when he went to the brothel to seek pleasure, he heard Nan Tianba and Southern Sky Gate mention that the three great pavilions were extremely strict with their disciples. They would never allow them to go out and find brothel girls. Anyone who disobeyed would be severely punished. Of course, rules were rules. They were mainly targeted at newcomers. People like Nan Tianba and Southern Sky Gate never took these rules seriously. As long as they weren't caught on the spot, then it was useless. Because he had just returned from the brothel, Si Haishao subconsciously thought of the two girls as brothel girls. After all, even if they were Lin Yi's girlfriends, there would only be one of them. How could there be two of them together? No matter what, Lin Yi was a cultivator. It was impossible for him to find an ordinary girl as his partner. At the very least, he would find a female cultivator. However, female cultivators were very arrogant. Even Si Haishao only had one female cultivator as his wife. Only those brothel girls could do something like threesome. However, brothel girls were more daring and had more tricks up their sleeves. They could even do something more open than this. He had just played 1 against 3. What did you say? I advise you to keep your mouth clean. Be careful of the trouble that comes from your mouth. Lin Yi heard this and his aura turned cold. Oh, with your insignificant strength, you still dare to pretend to be a tough guy in front of me? Si Haishao suddenly laughed wildly. He pointed at Lin Yi and sneered, "Guest expert, help this shopkeeper suppress him. Inform the welcoming pavilion's pavilion master to come and pick him up." Just as he finished speaking, 4 unfathomable figures suddenly appeared around Lin Yi without warning, surrounding him tightly in the center. Lin Yi's heart tightened. These 4 guest experts were completely different from those he had seen before. In the Hong Chamber of Commerce, although the guest experts were hired by the Chamber of Commerce, there were also designated assistants. The original 4 guest experts had already followed Hong Zhong to Middle Island. It was an unfamiliar face who only obeyed Si Haixiao's orders. However, even if the person was different, to be able to become a guest expert of the Hong Chamber of Commerce, he would at least be an expert above the gold core stage. This was beyond doubt. Seeing that Lin Yi did not dare to make a move, Si Haixiao smiled even more complacently. He turned his head to look at the 2 women lecherously and said, "These 2 beauties, didn't you come out to sell your goods for spirit jades? This shopkeeper has plenty of them. Furthermore, I guarantee that you will give more than that poor brat. Why don't you follow me in 2 days?" The situation suddenly changed. Ning Xuefei and Shangguan Laner were still a little confused at first, but now that they were so openly teased by the old man in public, they finally reacted. "You old bastard. What did you say I am?" Shangguan Laner could not help but gnash her teeth in anger. You actually said that we are prostitutes? I will fight with you." Ning Xuefei was so angry that her pretty face turned red. Regardless of everything, she directly attacked Si Haixiao. The 2 of them, in terms of status, were at the level of little princesses. They were noble people who could not bear the slightest grievance. Now they were being humiliated as prostitutes in public. Seeing that the 2 women actually dared to attack him, Si Haixiao could not help but be stunned. He subconsciously felt that something was wrong. However, he could not figure out what was wrong. He immediately greeted them with an obscene smile. "Huh, you have quite a character. This shopkeeper likes little chillies like you. Anyway, we are out to sell our goods. Don't tell me that if that brat Lin Yi can play, I can't." Si Haixiao said as he stretched out his hand to touch Ning Xuefei and Shangguan Laner. However, before he could succeed, 5 figures suddenly flashed behind the 2 women. Si Haixiao did not see what was going on. His face was directly kicked, and he was sent flying to the wall more than 10 feet away. The surrounding people quickly moved to the side. The 4 guest experts saw that the situation was not good. They immediately left Lin Yi and rushed in front of Si Haixiao, confronting the 5 people who appeared out of nowhere. As a result, the momentum of each side was actually equal. These 5 people, each of them was actually a golden core stage expert. Even if they did not count the tsunami, there were already 9 golden core stage experts confronting each other at this moment, which really shocked the surrounding audience. Golden core stage experts had always been a rare existence. How could there suddenly be so many of them? In a trance, there was a feeling that golden core stage experts were everywhere. These people are the core disciples of Soaring Sky Pavilion. Someone in the crowd suddenly exclaimed in a low voice. The clothes of the disciples of the 3 pavilions were different. As long as you paid a little attention, you could recognize them at a glance. The 4 guest experts of the Hong Chamber of Commerce suddenly felt a thump in their hearts. 4 against 5, they were originally at a disadvantage and did not dare to act rashly. If the other party was really a core disciple of Soaring Sky Pavilion, then they were a complete local bully. Once things got out of hand, they could not afford to provoke them at all. These 5 masters of Soaring Sky Pavilion were naturally arranged by Shangguan Tianhua. Shangguan Laner had just been kidnapped not long ago. Even if he, as a grandfather, was broad-minded, it was impossible for him not to take any precautions. What's more, now that Ning Xuefei, the real princess of West Island, had come, it was even more necessary to protect her. Otherwise, if Ning Xuefei had a little problem here, it would directly be a crisis for the 2 islands. If it was not handled properly, it was not impossible to trigger a war between the 2 islands, so they had to be careful. When the 2 sides confronted each other, the leader of the 5 masters of Soaring Sky Pavilion looked coldly at the 4 guest officials opposite him and said, "How dare you? These 2 ladies, one is the daughter of the owner of West Island, and the other is the granddaughter of the master of Soaring Sky Pavilion. You dare to insult them as prostitutes in public, and even touch them. I really don't know why the Hong Chamber of Commerce would send such stupid scum to be the shopkeeper. I must give an explanation to the big shot above me. If you dare to stop me, come and try. After that, the master of Soaring Sky Pavilion shook his body, and the next moment, he appeared directly above Si Haixiao's head. Without saying a word, he grabbed Si Haixiao's neck with one hand and lifted him into the air. The 4 guest experts were shocked by the information revealed by his words and did not dare to move for a long time. They could only watch Si Haixiao being abused. Chapter 4062. The 4 guests were so scared that they didn't dare to move. As for Si Haixiao himself, although he was tipsy and dizzy, he still vaguely heard the words, West Island Lord, and Master of Soaring Sky Pavilion. He was so scared that he broke out in a cold sweat, and his tipsy feeling was mostly gone. Unfortunately, it was too late for him to wake up. His opponent's strength was much higher than his, and he didn't have any chance to resist at all. At this time, even begging for mercy was just wishful thinking. Just now when he was blinded by lust, he had completely offended the 2 women, and even the big shots behind them. Under everyone's gaze, in front of the 4 guests of the Hong Chamber of Commerce, this master of Soaring Sky Pavilion began to ravage Si Haixiao bit by bit. Crack. 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 Under everyone's gaze, every bone and meridian in Si Haixiao's body was mercilessly destroyed by a powerful and overbearing true qi, until it was completely broken. At first, Si Haixiao still had the strength to scream, but after a while, he didn't even have the strength to scream. In everyone's eyes, he was like a duck that had been strangled. The blue veins on his forehead stood out, and he desperately screamed, but he couldn't make any sound. Looking at this scene, everyone whispered to each other. Regarding Si Haixiao's tragic end, they could only say 3 words, sad, ridiculous, and pitiful. Bang! The master of Soaring Sky Pavilion casually threw Si Haixiao, who had fainted, on the ground, and turned to the 2 women for instructions. Miss Ning, Miss Shangguan, do you want to take this person back and cure him? Although the other party was the manager of a branch of the Hong Chamber of Commerce, and under normal circumstances, except for the top management of the Hong Chamber of Commerce's headquarters, no one else had the right to punish him. But today's matter involved the 2 misses of West Island and Soaring Sky Pavilion, so Si Haixiao had only himself to blame. Even if they took him back and killed him, the Hong Chamber of Commerce didn't have the face to stop it. Hearing this, Shanghai Laner and Ning Shuefei looked at each other and shook their heads at the same time. They shook their heads in unison. Both of them were not ruthless people. Although this old bastard was extremely hateful, it was already miserable enough that he was tortured to this extent in public. Anyway, he did not take advantage of them, so there was no need to pursue him relentlessly. If that's the case, then I'll spare his dog life for now. The expert from the Soaring Sky Pavilion nodded and then retreated behind the 2 women with a solemn expression. Just like the others, Lin Yi was speechless when he saw Si Haixiao gasping for air on the ground. The previously high and mighty shopkeeper of the Hong Chamber of Commerce was now like a dead dog. After what happened today, the Hong Chamber of Commerce behind him would not protect him. In order to explain to West Island and Rising Sky Pavilion, they would even punish Si Haixiao severely. In short, Si Haixiao, the newly appointed shopkeeper, had only been in high spirits for a few days, but in the blink of an eye, he was finished. Little junior brother. Let's go and find a place to have a good talk with me. When exactly did you become a staff member of the Hong Chamber of Commerce? Why didn't I know about it at all? Shangguan Laner pouted gloomily. The matter of the northernmost island. Lin Yi didn't tell her, and Ning Shuefei kept her in suspense. She was kept in the dark from the beginning and became an outsider. Compared to being slandered by Si Haixiao as a prostitute, this matter was much more serious. Yes, I also have something very important to ask you. Yes, I also have something very important to ask you. Ning Shuefei immediately put aside the unhappiness just now and pulled Lin Yi excitedly. Then, okay. Lin Yi nodded helplessly. Anyway, seeing that the Hong Chamber of Commerce was in a mess, he couldn't buy anything for a while, so he could only go with these two young ladies for the time being. Being surrounded by two beautiful young ladies on both sides, Lin Yi's treatment really made the people around him drool with envy. Especially when they thought of the rich backgrounds of these two women, they were even more jealous. Any one of them would be a winner in life with both power and beauty, let alone one against two. This kid looked thin and weak. He didn't look like an expert, and there was nothing special about him. How could he be favored by the heavens? Of course, jealousy was just jealousy. Looking at the 5 soaring sky pavilion gold core stage experts scattered around the two women, with Si Haixiao's bloody example in front of them, no matter how unbalanced they were, they could only watch helplessly and did not dare to make the slightest movement. Compared to Lin Yi's blessing of having two women, Si Haixiao's ending was really bitter tears. When he woke up from the unbearable pain all over his body, a whole day had passed. When he finally realized the situation he was in, he was so shocked that he couldn't help but gasp. As the manager of the North Island branch of the Hong's Chamber of Commerce, Si Haixiao was actually thrown on the street of the inner street of the market and left to fend for himself. What the fuck? Are you all dead? How dare you treat me like this? Today, I will kick all of you out. Si Haixiao's old face suddenly turned red when he was looked up and down by the strange eyes of passers-by, and he cursed angrily. Even if he made such a stupid mistake as yesterday, he was still a manager after all, and it was impossible for him to end up like a beggar on the street. Si Haixiao immediately cursed and tried to get up, but after struggling for a few times, he found that he could not stand up at all. Then he realized that the tendons in his limbs had been broken by someone with true qi, and he was now a useless man. But even so, Si Haixiao still did not lose his usual arrogance. He shouted to the passers-by, "Whoever comes over and carries me to the Hong Chamber of Commerce, I will give you a big reward." If what he said was on the open day of the inner street yesterday, maybe some passers-by who did not know the truth would be willing to give it a try. But now it was not the open day, and those who could come and go here were all people of status in the North Island. Si Haixiao's stupid feat yesterday had already been spread by word of mouth, and no one would pay attention to such a blind fool. After shouting for a long time, seeing that the passers-by were still indifferent, Si Haixiao finally stopped shouting in despair. But he did not give up. Since no one was willing to carry him, he would climb over by himself. The inner street was so big that even if he climbed all the way from the street to the Hong Chamber of Commerce, the distance was not too far. Once he arrived at the Hong Chamber of Commerce, it would be his territory. Under the gazes of the onlookers, Si Haixiao gritted his teeth and forced his way to the entrance of the Hong Chamber of Commerce. However, his subordinates, who were incomparably fawning over him, were only slightly stunned when they saw him. Then, they immediately looked away, as if they did not see him. Chapter 4063. However, the people in the store just looked at each other, and then went on with their own business, with no intention of helping Si Haixiao at all. Humph. Good. Very good. Today, I've seen the fickleness of human nature. Didn't you see that my tendons and meridians were broken, so you think I'm a useless person? Let me tell you, I can recover from this injury by taking the holy healing medicine. Even if I can't, I'm still your shopkeeper, and your life and death are still in my hands. Very good, I've seen your performance. None of you will have a good ending. Si Haixiao kept scolding. At this time, the young man who was the closest to him and was often beaten by him a few days ago suddenly said, "I don't know if we will have a good ending, but you definitely won't. Your matter has been passed to the headquarters yesterday, and the higher-ups of the headquarters have already dealt with you. In order to give a satisfactory explanation to the Master of West Island and the Master of Soaring Pavilion, you have been completely removed from the Hong Consortium of Chamber of Commerce and will never be employed again." What? That's impossible. You're talking nonsense. How dare you lie to me? Do you want to die? Si Haixiao's body shook in disbelief, and then he suddenly roared crazily. Lie to you? Open your dog eyes wide and take a good look before saying anything. A short-lived branch manager like you is truly unprecedented in the history of our Hong Chamber of Commerce. Your Excellency can really be considered as the first person in history. The shop assistant sneered disdainfully and pointed at a notice pasted in the middle of the wall. It clearly stated the punishment of Si Haishao by the higher-ups of Middle Island of the Hong Consortium of Chamber of Commerce, and the seal was indeed the unique seal of the headquarters. In an instant, Si Haishao felt like he was struck by lightning, and his mind went blank. Just because of a drunken flirtation, the shopkeeper Fong, who was still high and mighty yesterday, was fired by the Hong Consortium of Chamber of Commerce forever? Even though Si Haishao was lying at the door in a daze, the people of the Hong Consortium of Chamber of Commerce didn't care about him. They continued to do their own things. A new ruler brings a new minister. What they needed to think about now was when the new shopkeeper would arrive. As for an idiot like Si Haishao, they didn't care about him. In just a short moment, Si Haishao seemed to have aged a few decades. He raised his head with great difficulty and said, "Even though I'm no longer your shopkeeper, I'm still your esteemed customer since I'm here to buy medicine. I'm here to buy healing medicine, so I'm still your esteemed customer. Is this how you treat your honored guests?" The shop assistant who was closest to him couldn't help but sneer, "Honored guest? Could it be that not only are your tendons and meridians crippled, but your brain is also crippled? Oh right, to be able to do something as stupid as what you did yesterday, you don't have any brains to begin with. Then, I shall be merciful and give you a reminder. I'm sorry, but you've already been blacklisted by the Hong Chamber of Commerce, no matter if you go to the branch or the headquarters. We won't accept you." Si Haishao was completely speechless. He stared helplessly at the healing elixirs on the display case. A good dog doesn't block the way. I advise you to find another place to lie down. Otherwise, if you affect the business of our Hong Chamber of Commerce, you won't be able to bear the consequences. The shop assistant sneered with an unfriendly expression. Si Haishao clenched his teeth. If it was in the past, he would have killed this fellow with a slap. It was a pity that he was a nobody now. Furthermore, he was a cripple who couldn't even walk. No matter how indignant he was, he could only swallow his anger for the time being. He crawled out of the Hong Chamber of Commerce silently. Si Haishao didn't give up just like that. He turned and crawled towards the Chamber of Commerce next to him. His top priority now was to quickly buy healing elixirs to treat his injuries. Even if he couldn't treat them in a short period of time, he had to at least stabilize his injuries and prevent them from worsening. The Hong Chamber of Commerce wasn't far away. It was the wealthy metropolis. Although their foundations were slightly weaker than the Hong Chamber of Commerce, the difference was limited. Si Haishao shamelessly crawled all the way to the wealthy metropolis. He couldn't care less about the strange gazes of the people around him. He shouted impatiently, "Someone, quickly prepare a level 5 meridian unblocking pill for me." All the tendons and meridians in his body had been shattered by someone's true qi. Only a level 5 meridian unblocking pill had a chance of treating such injuries. The employees of the wealthy metropolis were stunned. After whispering to each other, they didn't dare to make the decision on their own. They immediately invited Manager Hao out. "Oh, isn't this the new manager see next door? What a rare guest. May I know what orders you have for my humble shop today?" Manager Hao appeared to be warm on the surface, but everyone could see the hint of mockery hidden in his eyes. Furthermore, he had no intention of helping Si Haishao up from the start. Si Haishao suppressed his anger and said, "I need a level 5 meridian unblocking pill. Prepare it for me." A level 5 meridian unblocking pill? Ha, this is a rare big deal. Manager Hao raised his eyebrows. Then, he said regretfully, "It's a pity that our humble shop doesn't have a level 5 meridian unblocking pill in stock at the moment." "What? No stock?" Si Haishao almost vomited blood when he heard that. Whether he could recover from his injuries and find a chance to make a comeback depended entirely on this level 5 meridian unblocking pill. How could the wealthy metropolis not have it? Unbeknownst to him, it wasn't that the wealthy metropolis did not have it in stock. It was just that Manager Hao didn't want to sell it to him on purpose. After winning the last auction in the extreme North Island, the Hong Chamber of Commerce could be said to be like the sun at high noon. Even the wealthy families would have to tolerate such a competitor. There was no need to offend the Hong Chamber of Commerce for a stupid trash like Si Haixiao, and it was not worth it. If we don't have a level 5 meridian unblocking pill, then there should be a level 4 great recovery pill, right? Si Haixiao didn't want to give up. Although the level 4 great recovery pill was not as effective as the level 5 meridian unblocking pill, it could at least stabilize his injuries. Unexpectedly, Manager Hao shook his head and said, "I'm sorry, we don't have it either. Someone bought it out of stock some time ago." "You don't have it either?" Si Haixiao was stunned. If it was worse than a level 4 great recovery pill, other healing pills would not have any effect on his current injuries. Si Haixiao had no choice but to crawl out of the wealthy metropolis and turn to other merchant unions. His purpose was obvious. He was still looking to buy a level 5 meridian unblocking pill and a level 4 great recovery pill. However, the reply that the other merchant unions received was the same. They were all out of stock. This time, no matter how slow Si Haixiao's brain was, he finally realized that something was wrong. These merchant unions were obviously looking out for the Hong Merchant Union's face. They didn't dare to sell to him at all. Chapter 4064. However, Si Haixiao did not give up. Even if he had to crawl all the way, he had to ask all the chambers of commerce in the inner street. He did not believe that all the chambers of commerce would ignore the large amount of spiritual jades and follow the Hong Consortium's lead. Finally, when Si Haixiao climbed to the point of exhaustion and was about to give up, he saw a 4th grade great recovery pill on the display of a store called the Central Chamber of Commerce. Si Haixiao was overjoyed. Even if there was no 5th grade meridian unblocking pill, this 4th grade great recovery pill was a lifesaver for him. Si Haixiao hurriedly crawled into the door of the Central Chamber of Commerce. He pointed at the display case and shouted, "Guards, I want that 4th grade great recovery pill. It's on display. You can't possibly lie and pretend that you don't have it in stock, right?" The manager looked at him in surprise and smiled. "Sir, you must be joking. This is business that comes knocking on your door. As a businessman, how can I reject it? Since you want it, I'll get someone to pack it up for you. As for the method of payment, would you like to swipe the spiritual jade card? Or..." "Of course." Si Haixiao took out the spiritual jade card from his bosom with great difficulty and handed it over to the steward. He was secretly rejoicing in his heart. Fortunately, he had earned a lot of spiritual jades over the years. This was the capital for him to stage a comeback in the future. However, a moment later, Si Haixiao was dumbfounded. The spiritual jade card had been frozen and could not be swiped at all. This news caused Si Haixiao to spit out a mouthful of blood in front of everyone. All of his spirit jades were on this spirit jade card. This was his entire fortune and his life. Not only was he tortured into a cripple, but he could not even use the spiritual jade card that was his last hope. Si Haixiao almost fainted in front of the Central Chamber of Commerce in despair. Gathering his last bit of spirit, Si Haixiao crawled out of the door in a daze. However, he did not know where to go. There was no way out. This time, he really didn't have any ideas. At this moment, a voice suddenly came from beside him. "If you want the elixir, follow me." Si Haixiao looked up in the direction of the voice and found that the person who spoke was a mysterious person wearing a black windbreaker. Even his face was covered by a black bamboo hat, making it impossible to see his face clearly. "Are you talking to me?" Si Haixiao had already lost all hope. At this moment, he was like a drowning man grasping at his last life-saving straw. The mysterious man did not reply, but just lowered his head and gave him a meaningful look. Then, he walked to the side. Si Haixiao was confused, but he still clenched his teeth and followed after them with great effort, hoping to get lucky. In any case, he was nothing now, and he was penniless. He was a complete cripple with a rotten life. There was nothing to be afraid of. As if he was waiting for Si Haishao, the mysterious man deliberately walked very slowly. After the time it took for an incense stick to burn, they finally stopped in front of a grand and luxurious tea house, and it was called the Central Tea Party. Si Haishao couldn't help but feel puzzled. Look at this name. Could it be that it was opened by the same company as the Central Chamber of Commerce? Speaking of which, as the former Four Directions supervisor of Honging Group, Si Haishao had specially investigated this Central Chamber of Commerce before he came to North Island. This was a business that had only recently risen to prominence. However, in just a few months, they quickly occupied all the islands, even the Middle Island where the competition was the fiercest. Their Chamber of Commerce appeared at the same time. Si Haishao used the Honging Group's intelligence system, but in the end, he still could not find out the owner behind the Central Chamber of Commerce. He only knew that this person was very mysterious and had a very terrifying power. The Central Chamber of Commerce was not like the other chambers of commerce, which grew slowly from small to large. It gave people the feeling that it had grown from nothing to something in just a few days. Suddenly, it was like a spring breeze, thousands of pear trees bloomed, and suddenly, it was all over the 5 main islands of Heaven's stage. He followed the mysterious man all the way into an elegant private room. Seeing that the mysterious man sat down and faced him, Si Haishao braced himself and said nervously, "You were looking for me." Before he finished his sentence, the mysterious man did not speak but took out a grade 5 meridian conduit elixir and placed it on the table in front of Si Haishao. This is for me." Si Haishao couldn't help but swallow his saliva, his eyes shining as he stared at the grade 5 meridian conduit elixir in front of him. This was the only elixir that could save his life now. However, Si Haishao was not a fool. No matter how much he desired it, he dared not reach out to take the elixir. He could only rub his hands awkwardly and say, I don't have spiritual jade." "You don't need spiritual jade. I'll give it to you," the mysterious man said calmly. Si Haishao was elated, but he still suppressed his greed and said, I think that I have no value now. I wonder if you have value." "You just haven't realized it," the mysterious man interrupted. "Oh." Si Haishao was stunned, not understanding what the other party meant. "As long as you promise to work for me wholeheartedly, this grade 5 meridian conduit elixir will be yours," the mysterious man stated. "All right." Si Haishao agreed without hesitation. He had nothing left now. No matter what he did for the mysterious man in the future, it would be better than being a cripple waiting for death. The mysterious man nodded in satisfaction and said, "I heard that you started out in the intelligence department. Not bad. I have an organization in my hands, and I'll hand it over to you in the future." "Oh. I'll take charge. What do I need to do?" Si Haishao's eyes lit up. The mysterious man smiled faintly and said, "It's very simple. Help me find some people with potential but evil intentions. For example, people like you." "Huh?" Si Haishao suddenly felt that his brain was not working properly. It was easy to understand finding people with potential, but evil intentions? What kind of request was that? There's no need to ask why. As long as you agree, I'll give you a brand new future. Your status won't be lower than the manager of the Hong Chamber of Commerce. As for the power, it'll be beyond your imagination." The mysterious man's tone was calm, but it sounded strangely enticing to Si Haishao. "All right, I agree." Si Haishao nodded immediately. "Very good. From today onwards, you'll be the manager of the Chamber of Commerce in the North Island. Of course, this is only your public identity. As for your secret identity, it's the team leader of the intelligence team in the North Island," the mysterious man said calmly. "Huh?" Even though Si Haishao had already thought of countless possibilities in his mind, he could not help but be shocked when he heard the mysterious man's words. Chapter 4065. One simple sentence from the other party, and Si Haixiao became a shopkeeper again. What's more, he became the leader of the intelligence team. Life was indeed unpredictable. This great rise and fall had come too quickly. Just as Si Haixiao was so shocked that he didn't know what to say, the mysterious man took out another bottle and placed it beside the Great Meridian Channel unblocking pill. He said, "Drink this bottle of medicinal liquid now. It won't affect your body, but you have to take the antidote once a month. If you don't have any ulterior motives, I will give you the antidote regularly." This. Si Haixiao's heart sank. There was no free lunch in this world. The mysterious man gave him such a huge benefit, but there were conditions. There's no point in hesitating. Do you think that I'll let you leave this room alive if you don't agree after I've said so much to you? As he spoke, a towering aura erupted from the mysterious man, causing the entire tea party to tremble. Even with Si Haixiao's experience, he was still dumbfounded by this terrifying aura that he had never seen before. Not to mention that he was now a cripple. Even if he was at his peak, he would probably be no stronger than an ant in front of this mysterious person. Si Haixiao had no choice. Since things had come to this, he could only crawl to the table, pick up the bottle of medicinal liquid, and drink it. He didn't dare to have any ulterior motives. "You're quite sensible. Go and have a good rest. Go officially to the Central Chamber of Commerce tomorrow." The mysterious man waved his hand lightly. Yes. I'll take my leave." Si Haixiao excitedly took the Meridian Channel conduit pill and kowtowed to the mysterious man. He crawled backward out of the private room. There was already a servant waiting at the door to help him change, shower, and recuperate. After Si Haixiao left, the door inside the private room suddenly opened automatically without any warning. The mysterious man's domineering aura dissipated instantly. He kowtowed respectfully to the private room inside, not daring to cross the line. "It's settled. He'll officially take office tomorrow. I'll personally supervise him during this period," the mysterious man said respectfully. "All right, you may leave." A woman's voice came from inside the private room. Yesterday, after leaving the Hong Chamber of Commerce, Lin Yi and the two ladies found a clean and tidy restaurant. Although it was far from being as high-class as the Soaring Sky Pavilion's splendid Sun House, and it didn't have spirit energy delicacies that easily cost hundreds of spirit jades, it was just some ordinary dishes that had nothing to do with cultivation. However, it was still very delicious, and it had the warmth of a home. The 5 Soaring Sky Pavilion core disciples had been following the 3 of them, constantly monitoring everyone's movements. With Si Haixiao's appearance, they had to be extra vigilant. It would be a dereliction of duty if another blind person came to disturb the mood of the 2 young misses. However, under the strong request of Shengguan Laner and Ning Xuefei, they did not enter the private room. They could only be on standby in the surrounding areas. Only Lin Yi and the 2 women were left in the private room. There was also a little curly bear who was busy eating and drinking. "I didn't dare to ask more last time in a hurry. It turns out to be Miss Ning of West Island. How disrespectful. Regarding the matter of the northernmost island, many thanks for your help, I can't thank you enough. Engrave it in my heart." Lin Yi raised his glass and thanked Ning Xuefei. "Aya, if I knew you were Lin Yi, I would have saved you even more. This is what I should do." Ning Xuefei's lips curled into a meaningful smile. Lin Yi was slightly stunned when he heard this. He couldn't help but look at Shengguan Laner. He thought that she said this because she was Shengguan Laner's best friend. "Love me, love my dog." Ning Xuefei smiled slightly. When they were on the northernmost island, she didn't know about the matter between Shengguan Laner and Lin Yi. Her words were referring to her other best friend, Han Jingjing. After the contact on the road just now, she could be sure that this was the Lin Yi that Han Jingjing had been yearning for day and night. However, she didn't want to break the window paper for such a fun thing. It would be good to wait until the time to give them a big surprise. "Well, you two don't have to keep me in suspense anymore. Little fellow, what happened? Quickly tell me honestly. Shangguan Laner couldn't wait to urge. Lin Yi and Ning Xuefei looked at each other and no longer hid it. They talked about the matter in the northernmost island to her. After listening to the encounter between the two, Shangguan Laner was amazed for a long time. She couldn't help but sigh that the world was really too small. They could even know each other like this. But then she wondered, little junior brother, how did you get injured at that time? Is the northernmost island so chaotic? Yeah, I wanted to ask this question too. Lin Yi, you were injured quite badly at that time. Ning Xuefei said curiously. Although she had a guess, it was just a guess. Lin Yi hesitated for a while, but thinking that these two weren't outsiders and had a close relationship with him, they wouldn't betray him. He lowered his voice and admitted, Miss Ning, you must have heard about what happened that night. Zheng Tianjie died because of a cauldron explosion. Actually, it was my doing. Ah. The two women were shocked when they heard this. Zheng Tianjie's status was not much inferior to theirs. His death had caused quite a stir in the past. According to the elders in the family, if it wasn't for the Dan god Zhang Liju personally coming out and confirming that this guy died because of his cauldron explosion, Zheng Dongjue would have sent out the elites of Zhongdao's Dan Hall. They didn't expect that the cause of such a huge incident was Lin Yi. After being stunned for a while, Shangguan Laner suddenly praised him excitedly, little junior brother, you're really amazing. Zheng Dongjue was someone Grandpa met when he brought me to Zhongdao. He's not a good person. I heard that a lot of girls in Zhongdao were harassed by him. Little junior brother, you're doing the people a favor. Ning Xuefei asked curiously, then why did you kill him? Oh, I know, it must be because he saw that you had so many elixirs that you couldn't buy even if you bought them, so he wanted to rob them. Lin Yi smiled and shook his head, that's not it. Miss Ning should have an impression of my conflict with him. I bid against him at the auction and offended him. He didn't plan on sharing Tian Chan's matter with the two girls. After all, there wasn't a need for it. One more person knowing would mean one more trouble for Tian Chan. It was better not to mention it. After having a meal with Lin Yi, he quickly returned under the protection of the 5 Soaring Sky Pavilion Corps disciples. Early the next morning, a transfer order was suddenly sent to the welcoming pavilion. Everyone in the welcoming pavilion was shocked. The newcomers of the 3 great pavilions were all gathered together to listen to their orders. Everything was done in a very formal manner. There was a deacon who was in charge of conveying the orders of the Elders Guild who personally appeared and accompanied him. And there was Hu Yunfeng with a pale face. After a meeting of the Elders Guild of the North Island, Lin Yi of the welcoming pavilion is appointed as the reception deacon of the West Island. He is in charge of receiving Miss Ning, a guest from the West Island. He is also responsible for all the matters of her travel in the North Island. If she encounters any problems, she can act at her own discretion without asking for additional instructions. The deacon read the transfer order in public. As soon as the words came out, there was an immediate uproar. Even Hu Yunfeng had an indescribable look of astonishment on his face. Reception deacon of the West Island? What kind of position is this? I have never heard of it before. The point was that it was personally appointed by the Elders Guild, and he had the right to act at his own discretion. It didn't sound simple at all. Under the envious eyes of the crowd, Lin Yi received the transfer order, but he was secretly speechless. Shanghai Tianhua, the top tycoon, is really leisurely and carefree. He actually thought of such a unique title for me. It can be said that he took a lot of effort. However, just as Lin Yi took the transfer order and was about to turn around and leave, the deacon suddenly said, "Little brother Lin Yi, wait a minute. I have a private letter from Pavilion Master Shangguan here. Please take it with you." Boom! The crowd was even more excited. Shanghai Tianhua, the Pavilion Master of the Rising Pavilion, actually gave a private letter to a newcomer of the Blue Cloud Pavilion. The weight of this letter is more enviable than the inexplicable transfer order just now. Damn it, how many generations of good fortune does Lin Yi have? Most of the newcomers were just watching the fun, but Hu Yunfeng, the pavilion master of the welcoming pavilion, had a pitiful expression, as if he had eaten shit and had to savor it slowly. Shangguan Tianhua was a high and mighty peak-level existence. Even with his status as the pavilion master of the welcoming pavilion, it was difficult for him to even speak to him face to face, let alone form any sort of relationship with him. Just what had this Lin Yi done to deserve such special treatment from such a powerful figure? Even Hu Yunfeng was in such a state. Kang Mingming, Murongzhen, and the other rivals who regarded Lin Yi as a thorn in their side, were so shocked that they couldn't speak for a long time. Although the sun was still shining brightly, their hearts had already fallen into an ice cellar, frozen into a pile of frozen lumps. Lin Yi didn't care about this group of people who were so depressed that they vomited blood. After receiving the private letter from Shanghai Tianhua, he turned around, walked to an empty place, opened it, and read it carefully. Lin Yi, this old man thinks that you're smart and dependable. You have a lot of potential, and this training is a rare opportunity. I hope you'll do your best and protect the princess. Be a qualified personal bodyguard for the island flower. Close master of the island flower? The last sentence in the letter made Lin Yi spit on the spot. He felt that he was born to do this. Wherever he went, he had to do this work. It was like this in the secular world, and now he was on the Heaven Stage Island, but he still couldn't escape this fate. As soon as he finished reading the letter, the gathered newcomers were in an uproar again. Lin Yi looked up and saw Shanghai Laner and Ning Shuefei, two little beauties with powerful backgrounds, smiling sweetly and waving at him not far away. With the Princess of West Island in one hand and the Princess of Chongtian Pavilion in the other, looking at the backs of Lin Yi and his companions, people in the welcoming pavilion were completely petrified. They all sighed in their hearts, as a newcomer, he should learn from Lin Yi. He is a real winner in life. If we can't find a strong backer, I think we can give up on Lin Yi. Meng Tong sighed faintly behind the crowd. Chapter 4067. Just like what Meng Tong had said, at least for now, they were no longer a threat to Lin Yi. Even if they did not give up, they could only swallow their anger for now. Bringing two beauties to tour the North Island, in the eyes of anyone, was a heavenly task. Lin Yi, on the other hand, did not have such dirty thoughts. However, he had been on the Heaven Stage Island for more than half a year, and he had never had such a good time. It could be considered as a rare relaxing experience after cultivating hard. However, just as Lin Yi was accompanying the two ladies to tour around, a piece of heavy news suddenly spread throughout the North Island, becoming the new topic of conversation after a meal. The former manager of the Hong Chamber of Commerce, Si Haishao, who had molested the two princesses in public, had now become the manager of the Central Chamber of Commerce after he was abused into a cripple. His meridians were all broken, and he was forever removed from his position by the Hong Chamber of Commerce. How could he be promoted so quickly? This Si Haishao doesn't look like much, how could he be so capable? Lin Yi could not help but be puzzled. Such a bad old bastard, there are actually people willing to hire him as a manager. Is this Central Chamber of Commerce sick? Shanghai Laner said angrily. Even if she was simple and did not hold a grudge against Si Haishao, it would be strange for her to be happy when she suddenly heard this kind of news. Ning Shuefei also frowned, but said with some doubt, Central Chamber of Commerce? This name sounds familiar. It seems to be in the limelight recently. I don't know why, but I also feel the same way. Lin Yi also frowned. He did not know what Central Chamber of Commerce was, but this word made him feel like he had heard it before. Although the three of them were surprised and puzzled, they were having fun and did not pay too much attention to it. Si Haishao had already paid a heavy price previously. As long as he did not provoke them again, he was just an unrelated passerby. At the same time, the two brothers Nan Tianba and Nan Tianmen were beating their chests and stamping their feet. What a waste of alcohol. Si Haishao had such a good backer. He had just gotten a little closer to him, but now he was pushed to the bottom. Not only had they lost a backer, but they had also been severely reprimanded by their uncle, Nantian Aurora, in his letter. Si Haishao was someone he had paid a huge price to finally raise to his current position. Just because these two fellows had brought him to a brothel to have fun, they ended up playing with him until he became an idiot with overflowing sperm. This was great. All his previous efforts had gone to waste. He had wasted an astronomical amount of spirit jades. Not even a sound was heard. Just as the two brothers were regretting their decision, they did not expect to receive such a piece of news. Forget about the two girls, that Lin Yi is the main culprit that caused this old man's tragedy. If I don't take revenge, I'm not a man. Nan Tianba and Southern Heavenly Gate nodded and said, that's right. We must find a way to kill that brat Lin Yi. He's too despicable. However, I heard that he's always with Shanghai Laner and Ning Shuefei. He's also surrounded by the 5 experts from the Rising Sky Pavilion. It's not a good time to make a move on him. The future is long. Isn't it just a few more days? This old man still has this much patience. Si Haishao's eyes were filled with hatred. He then said, this old man has made a comeback, but I haven't had the time to celebrate. Apart from the two of you, I don't know anyone else on the North Island. Why don't we go for a drink and have some fun? Since shopkeeper C has given the order, we wouldn't dare to disobey. The two of them immediately smiled and said. The three of them immediately found a top-notch restaurant and chatted happily. However, this time, Si Haishao had learned his lesson. He didn't dare to mention anything about finding women again. After all, he was forced to take the poison. If he fooled around all day and didn't do anything serious, he would be finished if he angered the mysterious person behind him. You two are the local bullies of the North Island, so you have a deep understanding of all aspects of the North Island. I have a question to ask you. I don't know if you have ever heard of people with potential but evil intentions? Si Haishao said, weighing his words. Nan Tianba and Southern Heavenly Gate were stunned. They then blurted out, isn't that you, Zhe? Chapter 4068. Si Haishao could not help but curl his lips. Yuzhe had already disappeared, and not even a shadow could be found. What was the use of mentioning him? He continued, is there anyone else other than him? Southern Heavenly Gate frowned and thought for a moment. Suddenly, he slapped his thigh and said, yes, there's someone called Kong Ming in the welcoming pavilion. Some time ago, because I suspected that he was Lin Air, I specially observed this person. He's very sinister and full of evil tricks, but he has some brains. Rumor has it that this kid is vengeful. Even when the newcomers fight in the arena, he will use underhanded methods. Many people have been tricked by him. Oh. That's interesting. Si Haishao's eyes lit up when he heard this. Southern Heavenly Gate laughed. What's even better is that this guy is the same as us. He is also a mortal enemy of Lin Yi. His hatred is not shallow. Si Haishao was even more satisfied. He immediately said, that's great. Then I'll trouble you to arrange for this person to meet me. I have great use for him. Although Southern Heavenly Gate did not understand, since Si Haishao had said it, he had no reason to refuse. He immediately set off for the welcoming pavilion. During this period of time, Kong Ming had not been doing well. It could even be said that it was the worst period of time since he came to the Heavenly Stage Island. Not only was he defeated by Lin Yi last time, but now that he had lost his backer, Su Lingchong, as a new deacon, he had become somewhat awkward. The newcomers no longer took him seriously, and it was basically impossible for him to advance further. Even the pavilion master, Hu Yunfeng, had begun to distance himself from him. Recently, all the big and small matters had been handed over to the newcomers to manage, giving him fewer and fewer instructions. And for a position like his, once there were no missions, it meant that he had no power. He was not far from becoming a transparent person. He could only watch helplessly as Lin Yi latched onto a super thick thigh like Shanghai Tianhua, while his own situation was deteriorating. If this continued, it was almost certain that he would be stepped on by Lin Yi. Kang Mingming was currently surrounded by a sense of crisis. However, he had no idea how to deal with it. Coincidentally, the southern heavenly gate had come knocking on his door. It was as if someone had sent him a pillow just as he was about to doze off. However, as much as Kang Mingming believed that this was a rare opportunity, he still called Pinliang along for safety's sake. If something happened, he'd at least have someone to cover for him. Pinliang, on the other hand, wanted to see what these people were up to. He agreed without hesitation and followed them. He brought the two of them to the restaurant. To put it nicely, the meeting between Kang Mingming and Si Haishao was like old friends at first sight. To put it bluntly, they were birds of the same feather. After Kang Mingming's flattery, the atmosphere at the table immediately became harmonious, and the two sides talked happily. I heard that you guys have a grudge with Lin Yi as well? Si Haishao finally brought up the matter at hand. That's right, shopkeeper Si, you don't know. Lin Yi and I have a blood feud, and so does brother Zhong. Our grudge can't even be finished in 3 days and 3 nights. Kang Mingming said bitterly. That's perfect. We are on the same side. The enemy of an enemy is a natural ally. Zhao Ming, if you're willing to surrender to me, that's fine. If you want me to protect you in the future, that's fine too, but you have to do something first. You need to prove your loyalty to us, right? Si Haishao squinted his eyes and smiled. Kang Mingming was overjoyed when he heard this, but he was a little troubled. I won't hide it from you, Manager Si. A while ago, we took the initiative to find trouble with Lin Yi. We wanted to eliminate him in one fell swoop, but the result wasn't what we wanted. He dodged it. Seniors Nan can also testify to this. Si Haishao glanced at Nan Tianba and Southern Sky Gate. Seeing the two brothers nod their heads, he said indifferently, since you've already failed, it can't be considered a proof of loyalty. Since you guys could mess with him once before, you can naturally mess with him again now. What do you think? But these days, he's been with the two misses. If we want to deal with him face to face, it won't be easy. After all, we're just rookies in the welcoming pavilion. Doing this is no different from courting death. I hope Manager Si can understand this. Kang Mingming said with a bitter face. That may be the case, but if we can't deal with him face to face, can't you think of another way? If you don't even have this much ability, even if I accept you, what's the use? Si Haishao curled his lips and said. This old thing, he wouldn't release the eagle until he saw the rabbit. Kang Mingming thought to himself. Then, he thought of something and said, I've thought of a way. Last time we went to mess with Lin Yi, he seemed to be forging. Now that he's busy playing with the two misses, he definitely won't have time to care about that place. What do you think, Manager Si? Si Haishao's eyes lit up when he heard this. He stroked his beard and said, not bad, this is a rare opportunity. Once something like forging starts, it can't be stopped. Even if he's not here, the forging will still continue. If you guys take this opportunity to mess with him, even if you can't do anything to him, you'll still make his heart ache. Then it's decided. As long as you do this well, it'll be your proof of loyalty. In the future, I'll take good care of you. You'll be able to achieve great success. Okay, I'll leave now. Just wait for my good news, Manager Si. Kang Mingming said excitedly. He turned around and left with Zhong Pingliang. He'd suffered a huge loss at Lin Yi's hands last time. This was the perfect time to get back at him and make the guy feel heartache. He didn't have to fight Lin Yi head-on anyway, so there was no risk at all. On the way, Zhong Pingliang was worried. He wanted to send a message to Lin Yi, but he didn't even know where Lin Yi was. He could only follow Kang Mingming and play it by ear. When they reached the cave entrance, Kang Mingming jumped in impatiently, with Zhong Pingliang following closely behind. At this moment, King of Junk was studying the forging notes his Shifu had left him. Although the accident from before seemed to be safe and there was still room to salvage the situation, King of Junk was truly scared out of his wits. While Lin Yi was collecting materials, he had to calm down and review his forging plan from start to finish. He had to review the notes, and perhaps he'd be able to find his blind spots and prevent similar mistakes from happening again. It was because he was too focused that he didn't notice Kang Xiaoming and Kang Xiaoming sneaking in. It was only when the two appeared behind him that he finally reacted. "Who's there?" The King of Junk was shocked and jumped up from the ground. Chapter 4069. Damn, when did Lin Yi get such a helper? Fortunately, I was cautious enough to prepare the alchemic fire bomb in advance. Otherwise, today's effort would have been in vain. Kang Mingming spat with lingering fear. Pinliang, on the other hand, was speechless as he looked at the trash king on the ground. He didn't even know that the two of them had snuck in like that. Wasn't this guy a little too unwary? He was knocked out by Kang Mingming with just one move, and Pinliang didn't even have a chance to sneak up on him. While Pinliang was thinking, Kang Xiaoming had already stepped past the King of Junk and reached the edge of the pool. He looked at the strange lump of metal in the middle of the pool and smiled coldly. "This is the weapon Lin Yi is crafting, right? I heard he even asked Hong Zhong to get him a lot of valuable materials. Let's take this thing away today, don't you think it'll hurt him to death?" Before Pinliang could say anything, Kang Xiaoming reached into the pool and fished out the lump of metal. The pool looked as calm as a pool of stagnant water, so there wasn't much of a threat to it. However, right after that, Kang Mingming's expression changed abruptly. Roar! A hoarse and miserable howl instantly penetrated the entire cave. Even the birds in the forest outside were startled and flew away. Fish! Accompanied by a scalp-numbing sizzling sound, a layer of skin on Kang Mingming's hand was burned off. His hands swelled like carrots at a speed visible to the naked eye. He hurriedly let go, and the iron lump fell on his feet with a bang. Another layer of skin was burned off. Don't be fooled by the forging pool's lukewarm appearance, as if it was no different from an ordinary pool. However, the temperature inside was not something a human could endure. Even if he was a foundation establishment expert, his body was still made of flesh and blood. In the eyes of experts, Kang Mingming's action was purely a case of an old man hanging himself. He was tired of living. "It's so hot." It was scalding. It was scalding. Pinliang didn't know whether to laugh or cry as he watched Kang Mingming rolling on the ground. He was still thinking of a way to deal with this situation. He didn't think that the idiot would fall into the trap of his own accord. This was good, he didn't even have to think. Without another word, Pinliang grabbed Kang Mingming's ankle and dragged him out of the cave. After the time it took for a stick of incense to burn, Kang Mingming's screams finally subsided. He looked at Pinliang and said weakly, "What the hell was that? Why was it so hot?" Pinliang couldn't help but laugh inwardly. What else could it be? What? Boss Lin Ming hand? You even dared to use your hands to directly take the things in the forging pool. Even with your stupid intelligence, it was truly shocking. But on the surface, Pinliang's eyes rolled as he analyzed. "Xiaoming, I suspect that this is a trick Lin Yi prepared for us. He used to do this all the time, pretending to be lax to lure us in. Think about it. After what happened last time, this place is obviously exposed. If it were you, would you still stay here to forge?" Kang Mingming paused and shook his head decisively. "Of course not. If it were me, I would have moved a long time ago. I wouldn't stay here and be targeted by others. That's why he should have moved a long time ago. That's why he made this piece of junk to lure us here to destroy it. This is exactly what he wants." Pinliang said confidently. "That's right. I was suspecting that this piece of junk doesn't look like a weapon at all. It's a trap." Lin Yi is really cunning. He even got someone to guard this place, making it sound like this piece of junk is something good. I wouldn't have fallen for it otherwise. Kang Mingming cursed angrily. He was the same type of person. When he analyzed Lin Yi, he naturally had the worst of intentions. He didn't know that he was the one who brought this upon himself. There was only one real reason: he was too stupid. Seeing that Kang Mingming had taken the initiative to explain himself, Pin Liang happily agreed. The two returned to the restaurant and reported to Si Haishao. Si Haishao was stunned when he saw that Kang Mingming had bandages all over his body. He looked like he was seriously injured. You were beaten up by Lin Yi? No, Manager Si, I was tricked by him. Kang Mingming started complaining with tears and snot. In summary, it wasn't that he didn't do his best. It was just that Lin Yi was too cunning. After listening to Kang Mingming's story, Si Haishao, Nantianba, and the others looked at each other. But thinking about it carefully, Kang Ming had his reasons for being tricked this time. If he didn't make Kang Mingming hand over his proof of loyalty, Lin Yi wouldn't be able to trick people like this no matter how cunning he was. Fine. Although you didn't succeed this time, even if you didn't make any contributions, you still worked hard. This old man has seen your sincerity. Consider this your proof of allegiance. In the future, this old man will naturally protect you, Si Haishao said coolly. Kang Mingming was overjoyed. He patted his chest and said, "Thank you, Manager Si. If you need anything in the future, I will go through fire and water without hesitation." Very good. Let's see what you do next. Si Haishao nodded in satisfaction before turning to Pin Liang. Zhao Ming is under me now, and I've acknowledged him. But you, Pin Liang, I can't just take you in just because you're Zhao Ming's friend. You have to contribute something, or you'll have to be put on probation. Pin Liang nodded in satisfaction before turning to Pin Liang. Pin Liang thought about it and pretended to be troubled. Manager Si, I also went to destroy things just now. It's just that Zhao Ming was in front. He was scalded the moment he picked up the metal lump. I could only save him first. I didn't have a chance to show off. That may be the case, but I treat everyone equally. Zhao Ming suffered so much before I accepted him. If you want me to accept you as well, you can't have no contributions at all. Si Haishao shook his head. That's right. This old man wasn't easy to fool. Pin Liang was secretly panicking. These people were obviously targeting boss Lin Yi. If he didn't find a way to sneak in now, it would be very difficult to get inside information about them in the future. Suddenly, Pin Liang's eyes lit up. Right, Manager Si, aren't you looking for people with bad intentions but potential? I happen to know one, and it's a rare beauty. Manager Si, you really know how to dote on me. I'm embarrassed. Murongzhen smiled tenderly and immediately sat down beside Si Haishao. Her petite body naturally leaned close to him. Seeing Si Haishao's lecherous expression, Kang Mingming couldn't help but curse in his mind. Murongzhen really was a slut that could be slept with by anyone. She even threw herself at an old man like him. She had no morals at all. Kang Mingming, however, had forgotten that Murongzhen had slept with him back then. She was only interested in his backer. For this kind of woman, Qin Feng was not a match for her. For a woman like her, her body was just a capital. As long as the opportunity was right, she could use it for a trade at any time. Pin Liang, I'm very pleased that you were willing to introduce Lady Murong to me this time. I'll remember that you've done a great job. Work hard in the future, I have high hopes for you. Si Haishao praised Zhong Pin Liang as he enjoyed Murongzhen's flirtatious behavior. This time, Kang Mingming was even more depressed. It seemed like Si Haishao favored Zhong Pin Liang even more, and he himself had to settle for second place. As for Murongzhen, there was even less of a chance for him to compete. Accompanying Ning Xuefei and Shengguan Laner to play around, Lin Yi, the island beauty's personal expert, was in a much better mood than Kang Ming. However, he didn't completely forget about his business during the play. He brought the two girls to the Hong Merchant Association again. This time, without Si Haixiao's obstruction, Lin Yi successfully bought most of the supplementary materials listed by King of Junk. He even got one of the two rare materials that King of Junk mentioned that required luck. However, the last one was nowhere to be found. The appearance-growing mushroom was a spiritual medicine that looked very similar to Ganoderma. At the same time, it was a rare material for forging weapons. According to King of Junk, the 5 elements during forging were different from the normal 5 elements. The process of forging weapons was the reverse of the 5 elements. Therefore, the key to perfectly harmonizing the attributes of the materials depended on the appearance-growing mushroom. However, the appearance-growing mushroom was as rare as the heart-devouring exquisite grass. More importantly, once it was harvested, it had a very short lifespan and would easily wither and become useless. Therefore, unless a special reservation was made, even a large merchant association like the Hong Merchant Association wouldn't be able to stock it. It was the same for other merchant associations. Fortunately, Lin Yi wasn't in a hurry. After making a reservation at the Hong Merchant Association, he specifically went to find Shen Heihu and asked him to help him buy it. It was only then that Ning Xuefei finally realized what was going on. She asked doubtfully, "Lin Yi, so you're not a waiter from the Hong Merchant Association?" Of course not. The newcomers in the welcome pavilion don't work part-time outside. As for the reason why I went to the northernmost island with Hong Zhong last time, it was only because I had a good relationship with him. I never said I was a waiter from the Hong Merchant Association. Lin Yi shrugged. Then why did you ask me to ask Hong Zhong for elixirs last time? I thought you were from the Hong Merchant Association. Ning Xuefei pouted. Lin Yi smiled and said, "Actually, I refined those elixirs myself." However, it was true that he was from the Hong Merchant Association. Ah. Is this for real? So many elixirs were refined by you? Ning Xuefei's eyes widened. At that time, the Hong Merchant Association was pushed aside by a few other merchant associations. They couldn't bring out any decent items for auction, so I helped Hong Zhong. That's how I got those elixirs. Lin Yi explained lightly. Chapter 4071. At this time, Shangguan Laner interrupted and said, "So, the highest grade elixir that you gave me as a birthday gift last time was also refined by you, junior brother?" "Yes." Lin Yi nodded and admitted. There was no need to hide this kind of thing from the two of them. You can even refine the highest grade elixir so easily. I didn't expect that you, Lin Yi, are such a powerful alchemist. Ning Xuefei's face was full of admiration. She suddenly said, "By the way, I heard that there is a kind of elixir that can directly improve one's strength. It's called the Foundation Establishment Elixir. You can directly upgrade after eating it, unlike the Foundation Establishment Barrier Breaking Elixir, which can only be used to break through the barrier. I wonder if you can refine it. You also know about the Foundation Establishment Elixir?" Lin Yi was slightly surprised. Looking at the Heaven Stage Island, the Foundation Establishment Elixir was an extremely rare and precious elixir. Even in a big chamber of commerce like the Hong Chamber of Commerce, it was rare. That's right. Ning Xuefei proudly raised her neck. A good friend of mine told me about it. I can try, but I can't guarantee that I will succeed. Lin Yi did not make any promises. That's great. Ning Xuefei suddenly became excited and said, "I have collected a lot of materials for refining the Foundation Establishment Elixir. Let's refine it together. Then, after refining, the 3 of us will divide it. But I want 2 portions, and I have to bring one for my good friend." "Okay, no problem." Lin Yi nodded and agreed. Since Hong Zhong went to Middle Island, he lost a reliable channel to purchase the heart-devouring exquisite grass. In the future, if he wanted to refine more Foundation Establishment Elixir, he could only wait for the news from Chen Heihu. He was a little worried about this recently. He did not expect that Ning Xuefei would actually help him in his time of need. But, according to Lin Yi's estimations, even with Ning Xuefei's high status as the daughter of the West Island's master, she wouldn't be able to collect too many ingredients in private. After all, the heart devourer exquisite grass was extremely rare, and it wasn't something that could be collected easily. However, after a few days, Ning Xuefei sent someone to deliver a large basket full of materials. This really shocked Lin Yi. After a rough estimation, there were actually at least 10 sets of materials inside. Even with Lin Yi's mental fortitude, he was still shocked by this scene for a long time. Comparisons were odious. Lin Yi couldn't help but marvel. How did Ning Xuefei collect all these? This time, Lin Yi could not help but feel a surge of emotions. After some preparation, he was about to start refining the pill. However, the two ladies, Ning Xuefei and Shangguan Laner, came to him at this time and said in unison, "We want to watch you concoct pills, we want to protect you." Lin Yi shook his head and sighed. No, she also came to the Heaven Stage Island, but she was not transmitted to the North Island. I don't know which island and which sect she is in now. Since the last time he accidentally met Tian Shan on the extreme North Island, Lin Yi had been worried about this problem. Even Tian Shan had encountered such a big trouble. With Han Jingjing's strength, it should be more difficult for her to adapt to the complicated environment of the Heaven Stage Island than Tian Shan. He didn't know how she was now. "Hey. Fei Fei can help you. She is the real princess of the West Island. She may not know other places, but if your girlfriend happens to be in the West Island, she will be able to find it. Fei Fei, am I right?" Shanghai Laner suggested. When Lin Yi heard this, he suddenly had hope. He turned his head and looked at Ning Xuefei expectantly. Han Jingjing was a woman. According to the situation that most of the female cultivators on the Heaven Stage Island were concentrated in the West Island, the possibility of her being transmitted to the West Island was at least more than 60%. "Okay, I'll ask someone when I go back," Ning Xuefei promised vaguely. She did not directly tell them about Han Jingjing's current situation. She wanted to give them a big surprise. Chapter 4072. The whereabouts of Han Jingjing, Rock Candy, Sydney, Tian Chan, Song Lingrui, Wang Xinyan, and the others were a big concern for him. Even if he couldn't meet them for the time being, if he could know their whereabouts and current situation, he could be relieved. As for the others, Lin Yi originally wanted to let Ning Xuefei inquire about them, but then he thought it was not good to inquire so much, and Ning Xuefei must have sent someone to inquire about them. It would not be good if they were targeted by someone with ulterior motives. "Why are you calling me Miss Ning again? Didn't I say that I am the same as little Lan? You should call me little senior sister Fei Fei," Ning Xuefei said angrily. "Well, okay, little senior sister Fei Fei." Lin Yi quickly surrendered. "That's more like it, hee hee." Ning Xuefei stuck out her tongue proudly. Back to business, Lin Yi immediately began to refine the foundation establishment pill. To be on the safe side, he did not put all 10 sets of materials in it, but divided them into 2 batches. The Divine Armament Cauldron also had a maximum tolerance limit. With the previous experience of alchemy, Lin Yi had long been familiar with this. There was no unexpected situation in the process of alchemy this time. In addition to the time taken a little longer than usual, the only thing that surprised Lin Yi was the last out of the furnace. Although there were only 10 sets of materials, the 2 furnaces added up to a total of 14 foundation establishment pills, each of which was of the best quality. This result really shocked Lin Yi himself, not to mention Ning Xuefei and Shangguan Laner. At this moment, they looked at Lin Yi as if they were looking at a monster. Their watery eyes were full of admiration. Lin Yi was a little embarrassed by their gazes. He shrugged and said, "The main thing is that the materials are good, and the quality is rare. It's normal to have these more." Shangguan Laner had no concept of these things, but Ning Xuefei was imperceptibly influenced and had a good understanding of alchemy. When she heard this, she was surprised and said, "Normal?" 2 furnaces refined a total of 14 best quality foundation establishment pills. Was this still considered normal? Lin Yi, you're too humble. Even the pill god Zhang Liju wouldn't be able to do that, right? Little senior sister Fei Fei is too kind. I'm just a newcomer. How can I be compared to Master Zhang? Lin Yi smiled faintly and waved his hand. His current level of alchemy was all thanks to this cheat master of his that he had never met before. According to the agreement, the refined foundation building pills were divided among the 3 of them. Ning Xuefei took 6 pills, and 3 of them were for her good friend. Shanghai Laner took 3 and left the remaining 5 for Lin Yi. I only need 3. You can have the other 2. Lin Yi refused. He knew that the 2 girls didn't like to train. If they wanted to increase their strength, they could only rely on elixirs. Taking 1 more foundation building pill would increase their strength, and it wasn't a bad thing for the 2 girls. After all, even if they had a strong background, there would always be times when they had to rely on themselves. Just like when Shanghai Laner was kidnapped. However, Sheng Guanlan shook her head repeatedly and said, I don't need so much. I don't need to be too strong. If I improve too quickly, I won't be able to protect myself. If I increase too fast, Grandpa will suspect me. I don't want him to know about our secret. Ning Xuefei said matter-of-factly, you made these. It's all your work to be able to produce so many foundation building pills. The extra 2 should have been yours. Although she said that, Lin Yi still felt guilty and said, otherwise, give these 2 to your friend. Just give these 2 to your friend. If I'm not wrong, these elixir ingredients were prepared by him, right? This was not difficult to infer. Ning Xuefei was a blacksmith, not an alchemist. Normally, even if she knew about the existence of foundation building pills, she wouldn't specially prepare so many foundation building pills. This was not something that could be bought casually. She definitely doesn't want it. I'll make the decision for her and give it to you. Don't be so wishy-washy and pushy. Ning Xuefei decided. Lin Yi couldn't help but feel strange. Foundation building pills were rare elixirs that could only be found by luck. How good was the relationship between Ning Xuefei and her friend, for her to make the decision for him? But thinking about it, they should be super close friends who were like sisters. Since it had come to this, Lin Yi couldn't refuse anymore. He could only choose to accept it. He owed her a favor and could only think of a way to make it up to her in the future. At this time, Shanghai Laner suddenly suggested excitedly, since it has been distributed, then let's take it together now. This is a good idea. Let's refine elixirs together and break through together. Ning Xuefei raised both of her hands in agreement. Foundation building pills didn't have any side effects. It didn't matter where it was taken. Lin Yi didn't need to dampen their spirits on this kind of thing, so he nodded and said, okay, I have no problem. The 3 of them immediately began to adjust their state. They took the newly refined foundation building pills one after another and focused on breaking through to a higher realm. Every peak of the foundation building realm was a threshold that was extremely difficult to cross. Last time on the extreme North Island, Lin Yi didn't need the help of elixirs and directly broke through to the middle stage of the foundation building realm. But if he wanted to break through to the peak of the middle stage of the foundation building realm now, the difficulty increased not by 1 or 2 times, but by 10 times, 20 times, or even 30 times. However, for this attempt to break through, Lin Yi was still full of confidence, because he now had a total of 5 foundation building pills in his hands. Looking at the whole Heaven Stage Island, even a young master with a deep background didn't have such an exaggerated capital. In a spurt of energy, he took 4 foundation building pills in succession, leaving only the last one as a reserve. This attempt to break through could be said to be a real big deal for Lin Yi. Time passed slowly, and when Lin Yi opened his eyes again, a whole day and night had passed. In his eyes, a frightening light flashed and disappeared, and his vigorous and majestic aura was slowly withdrawn. In just a day, Lin Yi gave people the feeling that he had been reborn. Previously, when he was at the peak of the middle stage of the foundation building realm, Lin Yi's aura was strong and sharp, like a sharp sword being unsheathed. Now, his aura had become more vigorous and majestic, but it was no longer so aggressive. It had become a lot more reserved and deep, like a sharp sword being sheathed. Even if there was only a trace of sharpness left, it was still enough to shock people. The feeling of the peak of the late stage of the foundation building realm is not bad. Lin Yi slowly exhaled with satisfaction. Chapter 4073. This kind of thing, if spread out, could shock a large number of people's jaws. No matter how high the talent potential was, even with the help of the best elixirs, the cultivation road could only go up step by step. Upgrading 2 levels in a row was not unique, but it was also rare in the world. Lin Yi's heaven-defying performance, which no one knew about, could be summed up. Other than the powerful effects of the 4 supreme-grade foundation building pills, the most important factor was his hard work in his daily training. Only by accumulating strength could one become a true king. Feeling the almost qualitative change of the full true qi around him, Lin Yi even couldn't help but feel that with his current strength, if he faced a master like Jing Tianjie again, he should have the strength to fight head-on. Jing Tianjie was a master of Gold Core stage. Even if he was only in the early stage of Gold Core, he was completely superior to all the masters of Foundation Establishment stage. Foundation Establishment and Gold Core were 2 completely different concepts. According to the common understanding of the world, even the strongest Foundation Establishment peak, it was impossible to be a direct opponent of Gold Core stage, even if this person was an alchemist. Between the Heaven stage peak and the early stage of Foundation Establishment, there might be a gap in strength. After all, from Heaven stage to Foundation Establishment, there was a threshold of change. If one was not adapted, it was possible to be defeated. But Gold Core was different. However, Lin Yi didn't have such a feeling at all. If he hadn't fought with a master of Gold Core stage, it would have been fine. But now he really felt that with his current strength, he would not lose to Jing Tianjie in a head-on battle. In front of the Foundation Establishment stage, whether Gold Core stage was really an invincible legend, Lin Yi had a strong hunch that maybe he would be able to personally verify it soon. After Lin Yi, Shangguan Laner and Ning Xuefei also completed their breakthroughs. Shanghai Laner had broken through to the middle stage of Foundation Establishment long ago with the help of Foundation Building Pill and the personal guidance of Shanghai Tianhua. Now, she was promoted again. She became a master of the peak middle stage of Foundation Establishment. As for Ning Xuefei, although the Princess of West Island also doesn't like to cultivate, her strength progress is no less than that of Shangguan Laner. Now she is also at the peak of the middle stage of Foundation Establishment. From refining pills to breaking through, the 3 of them stayed in the room for an entire day and night, not taking a single step out of the room. When they finally opened the door and walked out, the 5 core disciples of Soaring Sky Pavilion, who were ordered to protect the 2 young ladies, looked at Lin Yi with a different expression. 1 against 2. And 2 princesses at that. This brat was too awesome. To be able to pick up girls to this extent, even if he didn't do anything else in this life, his future would still be limitless. Shanghai Laner and Ning Xuefei didn't notice the strange look in everyone's eyes. Only Lin Yi grinned awkwardly. He seemed to have done something that made these people's imagination run wild. As his strength increased. In Lin Yi's eyes, the originally unfathomable masters of Gold Core stage are no longer so unreachable. These masters also have emotions, and they also have a burning heart for gossip. He can only hope that they don't spread this matter, otherwise Lin Yi will be pushed to the teeth of the storm again. With nothing to do, after Lin Yi went out, he took the 2 girls to the Hong Chamber of Commerce, wanting to see the news of the life mushroom. However, as soon as he walked through the door of the Hong Chamber of Commerce, the familiar figure inside made Lin Yi's footsteps stop, and then he said happily, "Elder Hong. when did you come back? Seeing Lin Yi, Hong Zhong also looked happy. He quickly greeted him and looked him up and down. He said in amazement, "Young hero Lin, it's been a long time, you have been reborn again. This speed of improvement of your strength has truly broadened this old man's horizons. Congratulations. Grandpa Hong, you only saw junior brother, but didn't you see us?" Shanghai Laner came up behind him and said with a smile. "Huh, little Lon, no matter who I miss, I can't miss you, little girl." Hong Zhong said with a smile. Then he turned to look at Ning Shuefei and saluted, "You must be Miss Ning of West Island. I've heard a lot about you. Come on, please come upstairs. Just call me Feifei, Grandpa Hong." Ning Shuefei said with a sweet smile. After inviting the three of them to the private room upstairs, Hong Zhong immediately asked people to set up a banquet. After exchanging greetings and catching up with each other, he personally apologized to Ning Shuefei and Shanghai Laner on behalf of the Hong Chamber of Commerce. But the two women didn't care about it at all. Even if they held a grudge, they would settle it with Si Haishao, not with the Hong Chamber of Commerce. Then, Hong Zhong told Lin Yi the reason why he came back to the North Island this time. "To tell you the truth, I came back to the North Island on my own initiative. Si Haishao made such a big scandal, so I had to come back to clean up the mess. Now I'm the vice president and also the manager of the North Island branch." Lin Yi was slightly stunned when he heard this, and then he wondered, "Elder Hong, with your connections in the North Island, you are indeed the best candidate to clean up the mess, but why does it sound like a demotion to be the manager of the branch?" Normally, if Hong Zhong really came here to clean up the mess, he only needed to say a few good words, and he didn't need to be the manager of the branch at all. It wasn't good for him, the vice president, to stay in the North Island for a long time and be far away from the power core of the headquarters in Middle Island. Intuition told Lin Yi that Hong Zhong didn't have a good time in Middle Island these days. As expected, Hong Zhong sighed and said, "Young Master Lin, you don't know. Although I was promoted to the vice president because of my merit, and I'm also one of the top executives in the headquarters of the Hong Chamber of Commerce, I've been operating in the North Island for a long time, so I don't have a deep foundation in the headquarters. So, when I went to Middle Island recently, I was pushed aside by a group of people led by the executive vice president." Lin Yi's eyelids twitched slightly. This situation really caught him off guard. A powerful dragon couldn't suppress a snake in its old haunts, not to mention that the other party's position and power were above Hong Zhong's. He was a real local dragon. Hong Zhong took a sip of wine and continued, "I have an empty position, but no real power, so I can't do anything at all. They've already made me a mere figurehead. If I continue to stay here, I'm afraid I'll completely become an idler. So I can only take this opportunity to go back to the North Island first, so at least I can be a little more independent." It seems that the Hong Chamber of Commerce is also a jianghu. Lin Yi sighed, and then comforted him, "It's okay, we'll do it step by step. Elder Hong, tell me in detail when you have time, and I'll see if I can help." You're tuning into the Romantic Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.